The Priestess's time travel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 751, Peace and Prosperity Part 5. Su Qingni used the pocket money Zhang Manling gave her to rent a small shop as the express headquarters, and then opened the business. On the opening day, Zhang Manling invited her lovers to support Su Qingni. Seeing so many big men, some people who had originally planned to do something because the shop was opened by a group of children immediately gave up their plans. Su Qingni printed a lot of flyers for the younger brothers to distribute, and indeed attracted a lot of customers. After all, the door-to-door service of same-city express delivery is too convenient, and the cost is not high, and it can also save their own time. The small business became so prosperous. Su Qingni originally thought that someone would compete with them for business and also set up a same-city express delivery. But she didn't expect that Zhang Manling's lovers were so intimidating that no one dared to compete with Su Qingni and others for business. The younger brothers got a high reward when the business was good. Although it was hard to run around every day, the younger brothers were happy. For children like them who were born in Lianchang's He, it was a blessing to be able to grow up alive. When they grow up, most of their ways out are to join various forces and serve as cannon fodder for the bosses. They may die in the fight between the two forces one day. Even those who came from the walled city never expected to die of old age. They felt that God was taking care of them when they could live to the age of 40 or 50. But now, the children see hope. This hope is given to them by the boss. They will have normal jobs in the future and can make money to support themselves and their families. They don't have to serve other forces as cannon fodder and live in fighting every day. They have the hope of dying of old age. The children are very grateful to Su Qingni and are more loyal to her as the boss. The port city is very big, and only 20 or so brothers can't take care of the express delivery business of the entire port city. Joining is a must. However, because the original work is done by children, they will not recruit adults when recruiting people. In fact, Su Qingni wanted to recruit a few adults. After all, adults are steady in doing things, but the brothers under her were unwilling, so Su Qingni had to give up this idea. The new recruits were all children around 10 years old. Although they were not children from Lianchang village, this age was the easiest to be brainwashed. Under the brainwashing of the original younger brothers every day, the newly recruited children also became Su Qingni's brainless fans and became her loyal younger brothers. Unknowingly, Su Qingni had hundreds of younger brothers, more than the number of younger brothers under the boss of the largest force in Lianchang village. When these children grow up, if Su Qingni really wants to compete with the big brothers of those forces, these big brothers may not be able to compete with Su Qingni. The days passed in a busy manner. In a blink of an eye, 2 years have passed. Su Qingni has grown a lot taller, and her figure has begun to show the slenderness of a girl. And Zhang Manling, with the help of Su Qingni in the past 2 years, looks younger and more beautiful, especially her fair and delicate skin, which is even better than that of a girl of 17 or 18 years old. Now Zhang Manling no longer wears heavy makeup, but wears nude makeup according to Su Qingni's guidance, which makes her look brighter and more attractive. It can be seen from the fact that 2 suitors appeared soon after one of her lovers died. However, Zhang Manling's complexion has not been very good these days. Even with makeup on, Su Qingni can see that there is something wrong with Zhang Manling's body. Su Qingni walked to Zhang Manling and sat down, reaching out to pull Zhang Manling's wrist. After a while, Su Qingni let go of Zhang Manling's wrist. "You are pregnant, 2 months. Zhang Manling's eyes lit up. She stroked her belly with both hands, with a look of surprise and disbelief. "I thought I would never have my own children in this life," Zhang Manling said softly. When she was young, she didn't pay attention. She got pregnant several times and aborted them all. Her body was damaged. The doctor diagnosed that it was impossible to get pregnant again. Su Qingni gave Zhang Manling a sanitary ball for free. "With such a powerful doctor like me to help you regulate your body has been well for a long time, and you can have as many children as you want." "Thank you, Qingni." Zhang Manling sincerely thanked Su Qingni. The best thing she did in her life was to bring Su Qingni home from the street and recognize Su Qingni as her sister. She thought she was taking care of Su Qingni, but in fact, it was Su Qingni who took care of her all these years. Su Qingni smiled and changed the subject to avoid a sentimental scene. By the way, are you sure who the father of this child is? Zhang Manling's emotion was instantly destroyed by Su Qingni's words. She grabbed the pillow beside her and hit Su Qingni. Stinky girl, how dare you make fun of me? Of course I know who the father of the child is. Su Qingni dodged with a smile and said, is it your secret lover? Zhang Manling stopped hitting Su Qingni, smiled sweetly, and responded softly, yes. Su Qingni frowned and said, who is your secret lover? You are pregnant, shouldn't he give you an explanation? Not to mention that he has a wife at home. According to the laws of Hong Kong City, a man can marry a concubine. Zhang Manling also frowned and sighed. His family is very large, and there are intrigues among family members. My identity will only discredit him and will become a weakness for him to be attacked by other family members. I can't stand by his side openly. Su Qingni sneered, excuse. If a man really loves a woman, he will help her to withstand all kinds of storms and protect his woman. How much sincerity can a man give to a woman as a secret lover? He is just greedy for the beauty of a woman. Su Qingni couldn't help but feel sorry for Zhang Manling. She was so good at dealing with men, so why did she fall for a man who didn't really love her? Alice, love is really blind, and the IQ of women in love is negative. Zhang Manling changed into a very beautiful dress and went out happily. I think she went to find her secret lover to share the good news. The next day, Su Qingni was making breakfast when Zhang Manling came back. Her complexion was even worse than yesterday. She didn't say hello to Su Qingni, but just slumped on the sofa in a daze. Su Qingni walked over with a cup of soy milk and handed it to Zhang Manling. No matter how bad your mood is, you have to eat breakfast. You still have a baby in your belly now, don't say you don't want this baby. I want it. I want it. Zhang Manling shouted uncontrollably, this is the child I have been waiting for so hard. No one can take it away from me, not even Zihao. This was the first time Su Qingni heard the name of Zhang Manling's secret lover. Was it Zihao? Su Qingni turned the information in her mind and understood the identity of this person. Chapter 752, Peace and Prosperity VI. The identity is indeed extraordinary. Li Zihao, a direct descendant of the Li family, is one of the heirs of the Li family. The Li family is a very large family. The family industry spans both the black and white worlds. There are Li family members in politics, business and the military. With such a huge family business, the struggle for the heirs is naturally very fierce. The means by which ordinary wealthy families fight for the family property are just a small fight in front of the Li family. The struggle for the heirs of the Li family is called tragic, and death is common. No wonder Li Zihao did not expose Zhang Manling. With Zhang Manling's identity, it will indeed become one of the reasons for Li Zihao to be attacked by other competitors. Judging from Zhang Manling's reaction, Li Zihao has no expectations for the child in Zhang Manling's belly. No wonder Zhang Manling is sad. She is not young anymore. She was not in good health before, so she did not dare to expect to have children. Now that she has a child, how could she give up? The two people should have had a disagreement on the issue of children. Zhang Manling attaches great importance to the child in her belly. After listening to Su Qingni's words, she immediately took the soy milk and drank it in small sips. Su Qingni put 2 more steamed dumplings on a plate and placed them in front of Zhang Manling. Zhang Manling picked up one with chopsticks. After eating the dumplings and drinking the soy milk, Zhang Manling looked at Su Qingni and said firmly, I must give birth to this child. Su Qingni hummed, no matter what decision you make, I support you. Zhang Manling, Qingni, I'm afraid I can't raise a child well. Can you help me raise this child? Su Qingni raised her eyebrows, are you proposing to me? Zhang Manling grabbed the pillow and threw it at Su Qingni, get out. Su Qingni caught the pillow and smiled, don't worry, I will help you take care of the child. Zhang Manling looked at Su Qingni expectantly, can you teach your skills to the child? I'm not greedy. If you can teach him one skill, I will be satisfied for both of us. Su Qingni is simply omnipotent. If your child can learn a little of her skills, it will be enough for the child to have no worries about food for the rest of his life. Su Qingni smiled and agreed. But neither of them knew that Su Qingni would not have the opportunity to teach Zhang Manling about a child in her belly. After having a child, Zhang Manling stopped working at the dance hall and stayed at home every day to take care of the baby. Su Qingni helped her take care of the baby, made a healthy daily plan for pregnant women, and prepared delicious and nutritious meals for Zhang Manling every day. Zhang Manling's complexion became better and better, and her whole body became plump and smooth. After a month of such leisurely and comfortable days, Zhang Manling, who is already pregnant, was too restless to stay at home and went out shopping. She was a person who could not calm down. She had been staying at home for the sake of the child for a month, which was really wrong for her. Zhang Manling was like a happy duck when she went out, and she did not come back at dinner time. Su Qingni did not care. Before Zhang Manling was pregnant, it was normal for her not to go home at night. It should be her secret lover again. Su Qingni guessed. She ate dinner alone calmly and finished her homework. Zhang Manling sent Su Qingni to school on the grounds that children must go to school. It was a school run by a British. All classes were taught in English. The teaching quality was very good, and the management of students was also very strict. Not doing homework was absolutely not allowed. After finishing her homework quickly, Su Qingni picked up a book and started reading. The clock was ticking. Su Qingni saw that the hour and minute hands had reached 10:30 in the evening. She put down the book, went to the bathroom to wash up, changed into pajamas and went to bed. At 2 or 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, Su Qingni was awakened by the noise outside the room. It was Zhang Manling who came back. Su Qingni didn't care. She turned over and was about to continue sleeping. Suddenly, she sat up from the bed. There was a smell of blood, a strong smell of blood. Is Zhang Manling injured? Su Qingni was about to get out of bed and open the door when her door was knocked. Zhang Manling's crying voice came in. Qingni, come out and save people. Su Qingni hurriedly opened the door. Zhang Manling was covered in blood outside the door. Su Qingni was so scared that she immediately went forward to check her. It's not me, it's Zihao. Zihao is injured. You help him heal his wounds quickly. Zhang Manling pulled Su Qingni to the sofa. Li Zihao was lying on the sofa covered in blood. He was hit by 3 bullets. Although none of them were vital, the wounds kept bleeding. If the wounds were not treated, he would bleed to death. Why not send him to the hospital? Su Qingni asked. The Li family also has a hospital in its business. If Li Zihao is sent to the hospital under the Li family, he will definitely receive VIP care. He is not from Lianchang's He. He dare not go to the hospital when he is injured. He can only go to those black clinics for treatment. Su Qingni's place is not a clinic, but she has helped many people heal their wounds. Many of them are her younger brothers. Although they are not on the road, but are engaged in legitimate work, it is inevitable that they will sometimes conflict with interests in bullying. When the younger brothers were injured, Su Qingni, the boss, must show her gratitude. The first thing is to help the younger brothers heal their wounds. Let the younger brothers know that their boss is not only good at business and has strong martial arts, but also has extremely good medical skills. Thanks to the publicity of these younger brothers, people in Lianchang village also know that Su Qingni has good medical skills. Some of the prominent people in Lianchang village were seriously injured, and it was inconvenient for them to go to the hospital for treatment, and they did not believe in the ability of the black clinic, so they would come to Su Qingni for medical treatment. They presented extremely heavy gifts, and Su Qingni also wanted to continue to live peacefully in Lianchang village. She would not let go of this opportunity to make connections, so she rescued those people. Over the years, almost all the prominent people in Lianchang village have been treated by Su Qingni. Su Qingni is now more popular in Lianchang's He than Zhang Manling. There are still many people who look down on Zhang Manling and don't buy into her. But everyone here is respecting and trying to please Su Qingni. No one wants to offend a skilled doctor, because who knows when they will need help from him. You can't send him. Zhang Manling shouted. Someone in the Li family is determined to kill Zihao. Sending Zihao to the hospital is like sending a sheep into a tiger's mouth. Su Qingni raised her eyebrows. Civil strife in the Li family. Zhang Manling nodded. The head of the Li family is dying, and the old man hasn't decided on the successor yet, but everyone has started to move. Su Qingni chuckled sarcastically. The Li family is disintegrating their own family from within. Do they think the Li family's business is too big? Stop mocking the Li family, and treat Zihao's injury quickly. Zhang Manling urged Su Qingni. Okay, I'll treat him. Go to my room and get my medicine box. Chapter 753, Peace and Prosperity VI. Su Qingni's medicine box is very large, with several layers inside, and many things are contained. When she opened the first layer, it was full of surgical instruments. Su Qingni put on medical gloves, picked up a scalpel, and dug out a bullet from Li Zihao's wound. Li Zihao lost too much blood and fell into deep coma, so Su Qingni omitted the step of anesthesia. She quickly dug out a bullet, cleaned the wound, sutured the wound, and bandaged Li Zihao. The whole process took no more than 10 minutes, and Su Qingni had finished treating Li Zihao's injuries. She fed a special blood-replenishing pill into Li Zihao's mouth. Su Qingni made the most of this kind of pill and gold wound medicine, who told her that almost all the people who came to her for treatment were injured, threw the bottle of pills to Zhang Manling, and Su Qingni went back to the room. When she got up the next day, Li Zihao had not woken up yet, and Zhang Manling was making porridge for Li Zihao in the kitchen. Although Zhang Manling could cook, she rarely went into the kitchen, saying that cooking would damage her beautiful hands. Now I go to Bababa to cook for Li Zihao, love. Su Qingni did not stay at home for dinner. She did not want to eat the dog food that Zhang Manling fed her. Su Qingni carried her school bag and went to school. On the way, she bought a freshly baked bread and solved her breakfast. After going to school, Su Qingni went to the principal's office first and expressed her idea of skipping a grade. She had a hunch that Zhang Manling would not stay in Liancheng's hay for long. The day when she and Zhang Manling would separate was coming. Therefore, she had to graduate from school quickly and become independent quickly, so that Zhang Manling would not leave and still be unable to let go of herself. Su Qingni had already skipped a grade twice. The principal was not surprised by Su Qingni's application this time, and calmly approved her application for skipping a grade. So, Su Qingni, who was only 13 years old, entered the graduating class and would apply for college with her classmates in the graduating class. When she returned home from school, Li Zihao had already woken up and moved from the living room to Zhang Manling's room. Thanks to the two people's first-class concealment skills, few people knew that Zhang Manling was Li Zihao's secret lover. Therefore, Li Zihao's enemies did not find Zhang Manling's house. Li Zihao is safe now. Su Qingni had nothing to say to Zhang Manling. After saying hello to Zhang Manling, she returned to her room. There were strangers at home, and Su Qingni had no mood to cook. She solved her dinner outside. She started to work after finishing her homework, just like every day before. In fact, even televisions are not popular in this era, let alone computers and mobile phones. I can't use my mobile phone, so I can only read books. After reading for a while, there was a knock on the door. Su Qingni looked up and said, "Come in." Zhang Manling walked in, walked to Su Qingni's bed and sat down. Su Qingni put down the book and looked at Zhang Manling. Zhang Manling said, "Qingni, Zihao can't stay in Gangcheng anymore, he wants to leave, I want to go with him." Su Qingni nodded in understanding. "Okay, then your family of 3 can be together." Zhang Manling said, "But I can't bear to leave you. Qingni, leave with us." Su Qingni shook her head. "No, sister, I'm used to life in Gangcheng, and I have a bunch of younger brothers to support. But I can't bear to leave you. I can't bear to leave you either." Su Qingni reached out and held Zhang Manling's hand. "Sister, you are my real sister. If that Li Zihao is not the person you like or the father of your child, I will never hand you over to him, nor will I let you go with him. So, when you and him settle down in the new place, write to me, and I will visit you when I am free. Okay?" Zhang Manling nodded in agreement. Su Qingni has a big idea. Since she doesn't want to leave, she really won't leave. She can't bear to leave Li Zihao, so she can only separate from Su Qingni. Fortunately, this girl is very capable, and she can live well even without me. Su Qingni chuckled and said, "It's good to go to a new place, where no one knows your past and you can start over." Zhang Manling nodded vigorously. That's what she thought. Moreover, in the new place, she can openly declare that she is Li Zihao's wife. Li Zihao's wife is a noble lady from a famous family. Because of her family background, even Li Zihao's enemies will not attack her. However, such a woman is very good at judging the situation. Seeing that Li Zihao was defeated, she immediately published a divorce statement with Li Zihao in the newspaper. "Okay, I won't disturb you reading. I'm going out." Zhang Manling was worried about the injured Li Zihao. After saying what she wanted to say, she got the answer and left anxiously. Su Qingni looked at Zhang Manling's back as she left and shook her head slightly. When Li Zihao's injury was more than half healed, Zhang Manling used her connections to contact a boat to take Li Zihao to Wenwen Island. That night, Zhang Manling prepared a large table of delicious dishes, and pulled Su Qingni to talk with her and Li Zihao, which was considered a farewell banquet. "Qingni, this is a toast to you, thank you for saving my life." Li Zihao raised his glass to Su Qingni. After more than half a month, Su Qingni had more or less contact with Li Zihao. After all, living under the same roof, it was impossible not to talk. Su Qingni gave Li Zihao face and said, "Mr. Li wants to thank me, so you should treat Sister Manling well in the future. I saved you for Sister Manling's face. Don't worry, I will treat Manling well." Li Zihao glanced at Zhang Manling and smiled. Although he was with Zhang Manling before because of her beauty, after this life and death, Li Zihao was moved by Zhang Manling and decided to treat this woman who never gave up on him no matter how miserable he was. Zhang Manling looked at Li Zihao with affection, not at all like a big sister in the dance hall who traveled among men. She touched her belly, and her whole body was full of the aura of a good wife and mother. The meal lasted more than 2 hours, and the three of them were quite happy. After the meal, Zhang Manling and Li Zihao left with their suitcases. Su Qingni stood upstairs, watching the backs of the two people leaving, and sent blessings to them in her heart. Back in the house, Su Qingni continued to read and went to bed on time. Her life did not change because of Zhang Manling's departure. However, 2 days later, Su Qingni received bad news: Li Zihao and Zhang Manling were dead. The boatman that Zhang Manling contacted betrayed her and Li Zihao, and the two were killed by Li Zihao's enemies. The child that Zhang Manling was looking forward to, the child that she wanted Su Qingni to help her teach, had no chance to be born in this world. Boss, cry if you want. Sanggu felt that the current boss needed comfort. Chapter 754, Peace and Prosperity Part 8. Is Su Qingni someone who needs comfort? No. Su Qingni just felt disappointed, although she had long known that human life in this world was not as valuable as it was after the new year, especially the lives of people from Lianchang's He. But Zhang Manling had lived with her for many years after all, but she died suddenly, and she died with the hope of following her beloved and her unborn child. As the sister who was most familiar and closest to Zhang Manling, she should help Zhang Manling to avenge her, right? Sangao, help me investigate who the boatman had contact with. Su Qingni gave an order. The person Zhang Manling was looking for would not easily betray her, unless someone found the boatman and gave him huge benefits. And Zhang Manling's action of looking for the boatman must be very secretive, and not too many people would know about it. Then how did Li Zihao's enemies know that Zhang Manling and Li Zihao were going to escape by boat? Moreover, with a small character like the boatman, there was no way to find Li Zihao's enemies to inform on him. Therefore, the informant not only had a way to know Li Zihao's enemies, but also knew Zhang Manling. Sanggu took the order and hurried to investigate. Su Qingni sighed and began to recite the Rebirth Sutra for Zhang Manling's family of 3, hoping that they would be reborn in a good life in the next life. Following Su Qingni's thoughts, Sanggu did not take long to find the person who betrayed Zhang Manling and Li Zihao. Perhaps it was because Zhang Manling and Li Zihao were both dead, or perhaps it was because he had climbed up the ladder and felt that there was nothing to be afraid of with a strong backer. This person did not hide the fact that he betrayed Zhang Manling and Li Zihao. The person who betrayed Zhang Manling was a dancer in the same dance hall. This woman was called Mary. She had a good relationship with Zhang Manling and was very beautiful. Therefore, she was as popular as Zhang Manling in the dance hall. When Zhang Manling decided to leave Gangcheng with Li Zihao, she went back to the dance hall to deal with her departure. Zhang Manling has not been in vain these years. Although she is a dancer leader, she has a part of the shares of the dance hall. She wanted to sell all her shares for money. She and Li Zihao had to live in one island. Li Zihao escaped from the Li family without any money or valuables, and he would have to rely on her money to support him in the future. Zhang Manling's act of selling shares aroused Mary's suspicion. Mary was already one of the lovers of Li Zihao's enemy at this time. Just because she hooked up with a young master of the Li family, she suspected that Zhang Manling might also have hooked up with a young master of the Li family. Mary learned about Li Zihao from her lover, so she speculated that Zhang Manling's lover was Li Zihao, and Zhang Manling sold her shares to leave the port city with Li Zihao. Mary told her lover this speculation. She and Zhang Manling had some of the same connections, so which boatman would Zhang Manling find to escape? And Mary also gave her own lover. Her lover sent his men to investigate, and indeed found the boatman Zhang Manling was looking for. The boatman was offered even greater benefits, and the boatman was frightened by the power of the Li family, so he had to betray Zhang Manling and Li Zihao. I'll leave the boatman to you, Su Qingni said. As for Mary and her lover, she would personally send them to the underworld to make amends to Zhang Manling and her family of 3. Although Zhang Manling worked as a dancer leader in the dance hall, she never let Su Qingni come to the dance hall. She thought that the dance hall was not a place for children. This was the first time Su Qingni came to the dance hall where Zhang Manling worked. As expected of the largest dance hall in Hong Kong, the decoration here is magnificent and even better than that of Shanghai back then. There are many people in the dance hall, with different identities. They are drunk and dancing wildly, accompanied by beautiful and bold dancers. Su Qingni put on heavy makeup on her face and walked to the front stage. A singer in this dance hall had a stomach ache in the afternoon, thanks to Su Qingni's subordinates, and asked for leave. The dance hall temporarily found a singer to replace her, and Su Qingni entered the dance hall as a substitute singer. She covered her face with heavy makeup, and the whole person looked extremely seductive, not at all like she was only 13 or 14 years old. Li Zihao's lover and Mary didn't take Su Qingni seriously, although they knew that Su Qingni opened a courier company in the city and did a big business. But Su Qingni was too young to arouse their fear. They all attributed the prosperity of the courier company's business to Zhang Manling and her lovers, and didn't think that a little girl could have any ability. The two of them were thinking about snatching the courier company's business in a few days. The Li family is big and powerful, and Mary's lover doesn't think much of this business, but Mary does. With a courier company, she doesn't have to be a dancer anymore. The two looked down on Su Qingni and never thought of rooting out a problem. However, they never thought that the little girl they looked down on would be the one who wanted them dead. Su Qingni lowered her voice and began to sing. They asked me how I knew my true love was true. Oh, I of course replied. Something here inside cannot be denied. This song Smoke Gets in Your Eyes is a famous pop song from the Broadway musical Roberta in the 1930s. It is very popular in Europe and the United States. Some big dance halls in Hong Kong also specially invited singing girls who can speak English to sing this song. When Su Qingni sings this song, it will reduce the suspicion of people in the dance hall. Su Qingni sang on the stage with a wide field of vision. She swept all the people and things under the stage into her eyes. She easily found Mary and her lover. The two sat in a very private position by the wall. At the tables on both sides of them sat the bodyguards of Mary's lover. Counting the number, there are as many as 20. Tisk, really afraid of death. Yes, the Li family is in a mess now, and Mary's lover is not the final winner. It is normal to be careful now. She swept her eyes around the dance hall and found several interesting people. Not only did she want to kill Mary and the other two, but there were others who wanted their lives too. Should she go with the flow? Su Qingni thought about it and decided to do it herself. After all, it was revenge for Zhang Manling. After singing a song, Su Qingni went backstage to rest and gave the stage to another singer. She had to sing 4 songs in the dance hall, but not continuously. She would go on stage to sing one song after a while. When she was not singing, Su Qingni could move freely in the dance hall, stay backstage to rest, or work part-time as a dancer in the front, or buy wine with her own money. Most singers work part-time as dancers, so that they can make more money, and maybe they can even get a rich man as a backer. Therefore, Su Qingni's behavior in the dance hall was not abrupt. She accepted a man's invitation to dance and slid into the dance floor with the man. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 755, Peace and Prosperity IX. Mary and her lover were also on the dance floor. At this time, her lover's bodyguards did not surround the two people. Su Qingni brought her dance partner to gradually approach Mary and the two people. When she slid past them, Su Qingni took action. 2 specially made cow hair needles were ejected by Su Qingni and shot into the bodies of the two people. The needles were made by Su Qingni using potion condensed into ice. After entering the human body, the ice melted and the medicinal properties entered the human blood. 10 minutes later, it took effect and immediately took the person's life. There was no hope of saving. 10 minutes later, it was Su Qingni's turn to sing on the stage. She was singing Carmen when she saw that the place where Mary was sitting was in chaos. Su Qingni's mouth curled up a slightly upward arc. Mary and her lover died. In order to reduce their own responsibilities, the bodyguards quickly controlled the entire dance hall and were determined to find the murderer of the two. Those who were going to attack Mary's lover were unlucky and were all caught. Several parties were biting each other, which made Su Qingni happy. Because Su Qingni was singing when Mary and the other died, She was the first to be ruled out of suspicion. Su Qingni smiled and watched enough of the show and left the dance hall. She felt that such a dance hall was very interesting, and she would come to the dance hall more often when she had time in the future. In this way, the first dance hall in Hong Kong, Jinbi Palace, lost 2 main dancers and gained a part-time singer Ilya. Su Qingni went to school during the day and managed the company's business. At night, she went to Jinbi Palace to sing and watch the performances of everyone in the dance hall. She only sang and did not engage in the profession of a dancer. Only when she was in a good mood and her dance partner was good-looking, Su Qingni would condescend to dance with others. It's not that no one had ideas about Su Qingni, but those who dared to make ideas about her all had a bad end. The next day, their bodies would be found hanging outside Jinbi Palace. After that, no one dared to make ideas about Su Qingni. Even those singers and dancers who were jealous of Su Qingni were dissatisfied with Su Qingni, but they did not dare to say a bad word in front of her. Su Qingni's current way of life in the dance hall is even more arrogant and one-manling. However, even if Su Qingni doesn't give face to others, there are still many fans, mainly because the songs she sings are very nice. In addition to English songs, all the Chinese songs Su Qingni sings are songs she writes herself. Su Qingni is sometimes too lazy to use her brain to write songs, so she will move songs from other worlds to this world. Of course, they must be suitable for this world and this era. Otherwise, how many people will appreciate some songs from the 21st century in this era? These songs are beautiful and full of new ideas. Compared with other singers who can only sing old songs, it is of course more enjoyable to listen to Su Qingni singing new songs. Time slipped away during Su Qingni's singing days. In the blink of an eye, 10 years have passed. Su Qingni has become an old man in the dance hall and a senior with a stable position in the entire Hong Kong entertainment circle. Su Qingni no longer sings, but occasionally writes 2 songs and throws them to others to sing. Anyone who is engaged in the singing industry, regardless of gender, is proud to be able to get songs written by Su Qingni and sing songs written by Su Qingni. Su Qingni still comes to Jinbi Palace to have fun. Her status is there. Even the boss of Jinbi Palace now treats Su Qingni with respect. Others are naturally more respectful to Su Qingni. In the eyes of outsiders, Su Qingni is already an old woman who is almost 30 years old, but in fact, Su Qingni is only in her early 20s and still fresh. She has graduated from college for 6 years, and now she focuses all her energy on the company. In addition to the express delivery company, Su Qingni's company also has a large chain supermarket. Supermarkets appeared in the United States in the 1930s, and later spread to Europe and the United States and were introduced to the United States. However, in Hong Kong City, supermarkets have not yet appeared as a retail situation. Su Qingni became the first person to try it out. Her original younger brothers have grown up and become very capable. As they grow up, naturally, they have formed a powerful and unignorable force. This force has no territory of its own and is not competitive, but it dares not be ignored, and people on the road dare not easily provoke it. Regardless of whether they are from the white or black world, they all treat this force with a friendly attitude and dare not make enemies. Who said that they are not only powerful in force, but also rich? After Su Qingni finished handling the company's affairs, she told Sangu, Bai Ozi and others a few words. These people were sent to school by Su Qingni to learn business-related knowledge and became Su Qingni's indispensable assistants. Su Qingni returned home. She still lives in Lianchang village, in the house where she lived with Zhang Manling at the beginning. Even though she has so much money now, she can buy a large villa in the mid-mountain area. Su Qingni is used to living here, used to the life of speaking with fists in Lianchang village, and doesn't want to move away. In the past 10 years, Niangniang village has changed a lot. Because the children in the village have been incorporated into Su Qingni's company, there are fewer people in the mixed way, and the incidents of fighting and even murder in the village have also decreased accordingly. Also because the children have gone to Su Qingni's company to make money, there are fewer poor families in Niangniang village. Even the poorest families have children who work in express delivery companies, and the wages they earn can barely make ends meet. Of course, these are just surface phenomena. Under the peaceful appearance, there are undercurrents that ordinary people cannot understand. Pornography, gambling and drugs have never been extinct in Lianchangshe. In fact, Lianchangshe is the hotbed of these 3 things. All 3 of these things in the entire port city come from Lianchangshe. Because Lianchangshe is a hotbed of crime, The yin energy here is extremely heavy. Su Qingni doesn't have to look around at all, the extremely yin place is right at her doorstep. The day after she followed Zhang Manling to Lianchang's He, Su Qingni buried the netherworld stone. Now, the netherworld has been connected to this world. However, Su Qingni's body still has a lot of life left, so she didn't choose to go back to the underworld. She put on a heavy makeup that didn't show her age, with flaming red lips, which was very tempting. Then she changed into a close-fitting cheongsam, outlining all the perfect body curves, and put on a shawl, and Su Qingni went out swayingly. At this moment, she was just like Zhang Manling when she first saw her. The Jinbi Palace was already open for business. The doorman saw Su Qingni getting off the rickshaw and quickly opened the door for her. Su Qingni took out a banknote from her handbag and threw it to the doorman, who happily took the banknote and smiled. Miss Ilya was very generous, and this tip was more than the tips he received from entertaining guests for a night. Unfortunately, Miss Ilya didn't come every day, so the chances of getting tips from her were greatly reduced. Chapter 756, Peace and Prosperity. Su Qingni walked into the ballroom and was warmly received by the people in the ballroom. The waiter took Su Qingni to a seat against the wall with a good view. Another waiter had already brought Su Qingni a bottle of red wine. Su Qingni thanked them and gave them tips. The two waiters happily went to entertain others. Su Qingni poured herself a glass of wine and tasted it in small sips. A man walked to Su Qingni's table, pulled out a chair and sat down. Ilya, this time the Jinbi Palace is going to hold a singing competition. You can be a judge. The man was about 40 years old, tall, and looked a little scary, but his expression was gentle and kind, like a good man. This man is the manager of the Jinbi Palace. Everyone in the ballroom calls him Uncle Lang. He was originally a gangster, but later he quit for some reason. It is said that Uncle Lang saved the boss of the Jinbi Palace. After he left the gang, the boss of the Jinbi Palace took Uncle Lang in and made him the manager of the Jinbi Palace. Uncle Lang, who became the manager of Jinbi Palace, was completely different from his vicious and fierce performance when he was on the road. Uncle Lang looked like a good guy and took good care of everyone in the dance hall. If the dancers and singers had difficulties at home and came to Uncle Lang to borrow money, Uncle Lang would lend it to them without hesitation. This made Uncle Lang very popular in the dance hall. People had forgotten his past and were not afraid of him. However, Su Qingni knew. Uncle Lang was not really a good guy. If someone provoked him and violated his bottom line, that person would die miserably. Singing competition. Su Qingni asked. Uncle Lang hummed and said, the decision was just made. Our dance hall is short of people. Lily followed Brother Quan, Annie was pregnant. Only Judy was left to support the place. Isn't this going to tire her to death? Can't we borrow people from other dance halls? But this is not a long-term solution. And these singers are all old people, and the guests may be tired of seeing and hearing them. It's time to introduce some new people. Uncle Lang, you are getting more and more business-minded now. Su Qingni said. Uncle Lang smiled, are you agreeing? Su Qingni, Uncle Lang personally invited me, how can I not agree? Uncle Lang smiled, you girl. Uncle Lang is the only person in Jinbi Palace who knows Su Qingni's true identity. He was once one of Zhang Manling's lovers and he really loves Zhang Manling. When Su Qingni first came to Jinbi Palace to assassinate Mary and her lover, Uncle Lang was the insider. Su Qingni poured a glass of red wine and handed it to Uncle Lang, who took it and took a big sip. It's not as good as white wine. Su Qingni smiled and said, I'll treat you to white wine when I'm free. Okay. Uncle Lang smiled and agreed. There was already a singer on the stage, a little-known singer in the dance hall. She had a good voice and sang well, but her appearance was inferior to others, so she was never popular. In other dance halls, such a singer would have been fired long ago. However, Uncle Lang was kind-hearted. He knew that the singer and her mother were driven out of the house by her father's first wife, and the mother and daughter had no way to make a living. The singer's only forte was singing, so he allowed the singer named Yihan to sing in the dance hall to earn basic living expenses for the mother and daughter. The singer's income consists of two parts, the basic salary given by the dance hall and the tips from the guests when singing. Yihan is not outstanding in appearance and cannot get tips. She can only live on the basic salary. But even the basic salary is more than what she can earn from other jobs. Yehong's mother is in poor health and needs to take medicine for a long time. Yehong will not give up such a high-paying job to do other jobs. Su Qingni's eyes swept over Yehong and fell on a young man behind her. Looking at the man, Su Qingni's mouth curled up. Uncle Lang, have you changed the band? Yes, the leader of the previous band immigrated to YN country and took all his apprentices with him. Before he left, he recommended his senior brother to me. Uncle Lang said, I listened to their performance, and it's not much worse than the previous band. Su Qingni smiled and said, not only is it not much worse, it's even better. At least, they are pleasing to the eye. Uncle Lang followed Su Qingni's line of sight and saw the handsome guy playing the clarinet on the stage, and his smile became even bigger. Why, you like this one? Su Qingni said Uncle Lang's eyes widened. Are you serious? Of course it's true. Su Qingni said, I really like him. He is so handsome, very much to my taste. Uncle Lang, introduce him to me as soon as possible. You really are. Uncle Lang felt incredible. Based on his understanding of Su Qingni herself, this girl has always been chaste and has no interest in matters between men and women. Why is she suddenly interested in a man? Although this young man named Zin Xian is handsome, there are many handsome men. Even his fellow apprentice Yu Hengwen is equally handsome. Why did Ilya not like Yu Hengwen but Zin Xian? Could it be that Ilya can see a person's character and essence from a distance? Zin Xian's character and essence are indeed better than Yu Hengwen. He is steady and kind to others. He is more worthy of a woman's entrustment than Yu Hengwen, who is playful. However, the gap between Zin Xian and Ilya's status is too big. Can the two of them be together? Or, does Ilya just want to support a gigolo for fun? Well, Ilya has the capital to support a gigolo. As expected, she is Zhang Manling's adopted daughter. The two don't look alike on the surface, but they are essentially the same. Okay, I'll introduce you. Uncle Lang agreed. After a song, Uncle Lang saw that the handsome boy went backstage to rest, and immediately asked the waiter to call Zin Xian over. It is unknown what the waiter said to Zin Xian, but not only Zin Xian came, but also another pretty boy named Yu Hengwen. Su Qingni's keen five senses allowed her to hear the two people's whispered conversation. Su Qingni heard Yu Hengwen say that Elijah is already over 30 years old. She is an old woman. Does she want to have sex with a young girl? As your good brother, I will definitely protect your chastity. Then she heard Zin Xian say, get lost, you just have dirty thoughts? Yu Hengwen, what do you mean I have dirty thoughts? That's what I have. Otherwise, why did she specifically ask to see you? She wanted you to drink with her? She must have done something wrong to you. This kind of thing has happened before. When we were at Kate Ballroom, didn't a woman want to support you and me? Zin Xian didn't say anything. I guess he thought that it was the couple who were unhappy. When he came in front of Su Qingni and Uncle Lang, his face was very bad. Chapter 757, Peace and Prosperity. Uncle Lang is such a smart guy. When he saw the reactions of Zin Xian and Yu Hengwen, he understood their thoughts. He smiled and pretended that he didn't notice anything, and called the two of them, Xian, Zhengwen, come and sit here. Uncle Lang pointed to the two seats beside him and asked the waiter to bring 2 more empty cups. The seating layout is a prototype small table with 4 comfortable chairs placed next to it, forming a circle. Uncle Lang sat on the right side of Su Qingni, and the other 2 seats were next to Su Qingni and Uncle Lang respectively. Yu Hengwen stepped forward first, pulled open the chair on Su Qingni's left, and sat down. The remaining chair opposite Su Qingni was given to Zin Xian. Su Qingni raised her eyebrows. This Yu Hengwen looks frivolous, but he is a good person. At least he deserves praise for his loyalty. The waiter had brought the empty glasses. Uncle Lang poured 2 glasses of red wine for Zin Xian and Yu Hengwen, and said with a smile, I don't need to introduce you, do I? Yu Hengwen laughed. No, Sister Ilya, we all know her. Sister Ilya is our senior, and her talent in writing songs makes us musicians admire her very much. As he said that, he picked up the wine glass and said to Su Qingni, Sister Ilya, I toast to you. Su Qingni raised her glass with a smile, clinked glasses with Yu Hengwen, and drank it all in one gulp. Yu Hengwen kept saying good things about Su Qingni, flattering her, and then kept toasting with Su Qingni, trying to get Su Qingni drunk and help his brother out of trouble. Su Qingni responded with a smile, as if she didn't see Yu Hengwen's plan. Then, Yu Hengwen fell drunk under the table, and Su Qingni was still clear-headed. Zin Xian reluctantly dragged his brother up from under the table and apologized to Su Qingni. I'm sorry, Sister Ilya, Zhengwen's alcohol tolerance is not very good. Su Qingni smiled and said, His alcohol tolerance is already very good, at least better than most people's alcohol tolerance. But my alcohol tolerance is better than his. Jin Xian showed an embarrassed look on his face. Su Qingni waved her hand and said, "Take him to sober up quickly, I don't need you to accompany me here." Jin Xian was relieved and immediately took Yu Hengwen away. Su Qingni picked up the wine glass, took a sip of wine, and a strange smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Uncle Lang inspected the place, returned to Su Qingni's table, sat down and said with a smile, "Are you frustrated?" Su Qingni smiled, "I am really not liked by young people now." Uncle Lang laughed, "You are younger than both of them, and you still call them young people." Su Qingni laughed, "Who else in the Jinbi Palace would think I am a young person except you, Uncle Lang? I am a person of the same generation as my sister or even my mother." "Uncle Lang, you are really good at disguising yourself. For so many years, no one has discovered your true identity." "That's good." Uncle Lang nodded, "Indeed, it's safer." Uncle Lang took out a folded white paper with squares on it from his arms and put it in front of Su Qingni. "This is the process and time of the song and dance competition." Su Qingni took it and looked at it, then put it in her handbag. Jin Xian went on stage again, and Yu Hengwen was still drunk, so he naturally didn't go on stage. Su Qingni admired Jin Xian's performance from afar, and did not leave the Jinbi Palace until Jin Xian's performance for the day was over. The next day, Yu Hengwen asked Jin Xian if he had been taken advantage of by the old woman after he sobered up. Jin Xian reluctantly knocked off Yu Hengwen's hand that was scratching him, and said, "Miss Elia should not have any other intentions towards me. After you got drunk, she didn't embarrass me at all, but just kept listening to my performance. I think Miss Elia, as a musician, should appreciate my performance. Then why doesn't she appreciate me? My performance is not worse than yours." Yu Hengwen snorted. If Elia really didn't have the intention of hanging out with a pretty boy, but appreciated Jin Xian's music, then he would be jealous. Who is Elia? A big shot on the Hong Kong music industry, a person that even their master admires. He has a very high status in the music circle. Those who can get her appreciation and praise will have a smoother time in the music circle in the future, and the dance hall will also increase their remuneration. Jin Xian glanced at him. "If you spend all your time on music instead of hooking up with girls, maybe someone will appreciate your music." Tisk. Yu Hengwen said that the girls are so beautiful, how could he let them down? "Does that old woman Elia really have no other intentions towards you?" Yu Hengwen asked again uncertainly. "No." Jin Xian lowered his eyelids, blocking a pair of dark eyes. Jin Xian did not have the same bad feelings towards Elia as Yu Hengwen. In fact, when he saw Elia, he felt a little surprised, as if he had met someone he had been waiting for all his life. But, is such a woman worth waiting for and loving? Jin Xian was sure that he did not like a woman like Elia, but the feeling of being moved could not deceive him. He felt very annoyed. Should he stay away from this woman? Or should he approach this woman according to his heart? He is a vulgar person who cares about the eyes of people around him. He deceived people into thinking that he was a kept little white face. His self-esteem does not allow him to become a gigolo who depends on a woman. Moreover, he cannot confirm whether Elia really likes him or is he just looking for a young and handsome guy to relieve his boredom like those noble ladies in the past. Because of such doubts, Elia looked at him differently, and Jin Xian was not happy. The next night, Elia appeared in the dance hall again. When Jin Xian was resting in the middle, Elia invited Jin Xian to drink again. This time, Yu Hengwen did not go with him, and Elia did not flirt with or seduce Jin Xian. He only drank 2 glasses of wine with Jin Xian, talked for a while, and let him leave while listening to music. Elia did not come on the 3rd day, and Elia did not come on the 4th day. It has been half a month, and Elia has not come again. Jin Xian can't help but feel lost. Has she lost interest in herself? Sure enough, she just found someone to relieve her boredom. Jin Xian was in a bad mood, and Yu Hengwen didn't know why he was in a bad mood. He didn't expect that his good brother was in a bad mood because of the old woman he mentioned. However, seeing his good brother like this, Yu Hengwen tried every means to make him happy and took him to see the young and beautiful girls. The young and beautiful girls came to the Jinbi Palace to participate in the singing competition. There were men among them, but most of them were women, especially young and beautiful women. Jin Xian was not interested in this kind of thing, but he didn't want to spoil his good brother's interest, so he had to follow Yu Hengwen to the Jinbi Palace. Chapter 758, Peace and Prosperity Zai. The Jinbi Palace is closed during the day. It is usually very deserted and unpopular. But now, the door of the Jinbi Palace is open, and there are people inside and outside, and they are all young girls and boys. Girls account for the majority, and they are as beautiful as flowers. Yu Hengwen's eyes are shining, and you can hardly look at them all. The two people entered the backstage of the Jinbi Palace from the side door, and then walked to the dance hall through the backstage. There are 2 long tables and several chairs under the stage. Uncle Lang and several old people in the dance hall sit behind the table to conduct preliminary interviews for those who come to register. Although Uncle Lang does not sing, he has been in the dance hall for so many years and has heard many people singing. He has experience and appreciation. As a judge for the preliminary selection, he is competent. Uncle Lang saw the arrival of the 2 people and was very happy to have 2 more chairs added so that they can also be judges for the preliminary selection. These 2 people are specialized in music, and their professionalism is much stronger than his. They can definitely select better seedlings. Yu Hengwen is very happy with this job, so that he can look at beautiful women openly. As the waiter called the number, a girl dressed somewhat revealingly came in. Yu Hengwen looked at her exposed thighs and almost drooled. The girl began to sing, but as soon as she opened her mouth, everyone frowned. She was so tone deaf and yet she came to participate in the competition. Did she have any self-awareness? Did she think that they would let her pass by wearing such cool and revealing clothes and acting so boldly? Are there not many women in the dance hall who are dressed revealingly? Compared with the women in the dance hall, this woman's appearance is only above average. Everyone unanimously decided that the woman would not pass. Even Yu Hengwen, who was dazzled by the woman's big white legs raised from time to time, denied the woman's passing the preliminary selection with great professional ethics. The woman left angrily, and the next contestant walked in. Yu Hengwen pouted his lips in boredom. The next contestant was a young boy. The boy's voice and singing skills were not bad, and everyone chose to let him pass. Yu Hengwen waved his hand like waving a fly, indicating that he passed. The next one was a pretty girl, with a gentle temperament and a hint of timidity, which made the man feel pity. Yu Hengwen's eyes immediately sparkled, and his eyeballs were about to stick to this girl. He likes to hook up with beautiful girls, but he likes this type of girl the most. This kind of little white flower-like girl is his dream lover. Yu Hengwen asked the girl questions very actively and learned about her detailed information. The girl's name is Shan Ziahan. Her family runs a tailor shop. There are 8 brothers and sisters in the family. They all rely on their parents to make money to support them. Their life is very hard. Shan Ziahan is the eldest sister. She is only 18 years old this year, but she has already gone out to work to help her parents make money to support the family. Shan Ziahan has a very good voice. Although her singing skills are not very good, the singing she sings is still very nice. In addition, she looks good, so she naturally passed the preliminary selection. Yu Hengwen reluctantly retracted his gaze when he saw Shan Ziahan's figure disappear. Xin Xian knew his brother very well and knew that Yu Hengwen was really moved this time, so he asked, "Is it true this time?" Yu Hengwen hummed, "It's real gold." Xin Xian said, "This girl looks like a good wife and mother. If you want to pursue her, you have to be more sincere and not be like before." Yu Hengwen snorted twice, "I didn't do that before." Xin Xian, "You either spend your salary on picking up girls, drinking, or betting on horses. You get your salary at the beginning of the month and spend it all before the end of the month. You don't have any savings on hand, how can you get married?" Yu Hengwen said, "Aren't you thinking too far ahead? I haven't even pursued anyone yet, and you're already thinking about getting married to me." Xin Xian said, "Don't you want to marry that girl?" "Of course I don't. I finally met someone I like and who is suitable to be my wife. How can I not want to?" "That's it." Xin Xian said, "Don't be so extravagant in the future. At least save a little bit of your salary every month. A little bit adds up, and you can save enough for a wife when you get married. You're just like an old woman. Who do you think I'm doing this for? If you weren't my brother, I wouldn't even bother telling you this." While the two were whispering, the next contestant had already finished performing. He had no special features and was eliminated. Next, a girl about the same age as Shan Ziahan walked in. She was wearing much better clothes than Shan Ziahan, with a sunny and cheerful temperament, and looked like a child who was spoiled. "Hello, judges. My name is Wen Yujun." The girl greeted everyone generously, and this alone made several people nod. For a singer to perform in front of everyone, Not being stage fright is one of the most important conditions. After the girl introduced herself, she looked up at the judge's table and saw Xin Xian sitting on the side. She couldn't help but jump up and pointed at Xin Xian and said, "Why is it you? Why are you here?" Uncle Lang looked at Wen Yujun and then at Xin Xian in confusion, frowning slightly. Xin Xian is the man that Ilya has taken a fancy to. If Xin Xian has something with this girl, what should Ilya do? This girl looks very good, but as Ilya's elder, he is definitely on Ilya's side, so he should find a reason to eliminate her. Of course, he can't do it too obviously, lest Xin Xian suspects. Yu Hangwen poked Xin Xian with his elbow, winked and said, "When did you meet such a beautiful girl?" Xin Xian said helplessly, "I don't know her at all. It's just that I snatched a taxi with her 2 days ago, and I won." This girl was angry and held a grudge. Yu Hangwen made an incredible expression. "You actually snatched a taxi with a beautiful girl?" Xin Xian rolled his eyes at Yu Hangwen. "Someone called me and asked me to take money to save his life, as if I was a moment late, his life would be in danger. I would not snatch a taxi with a girl without grace." Yu Hangwen laughed awkwardly. Haha, haha, well, let's listen to how this girl sings. Even if she doesn't sing well, I will let her pass, just as compensation for her. How about it? Xin Xian rolled his eyes again. This girl looks so confident. She must be very confident in her singing voice. Will she let you make concessions? Wen Yujun was very angry when she saw Xin Xian only talking to the man beside him and ignoring her. The little face rich in collagen was all puffed up, looking very cute. Uncle Lang saw her and Xin Xian's reactions, and felt a little relieved. He smiled and said, "Miss Wen, please start your performance." Chapter 759, Peace and Prosperity Zai. Wen Yujun was the best contestant that everyone had seen that day. She was beautiful and youthful, with a very nice voice that could sing high and low notes, and her singing skills were also very good, comparable to many formal singers. I think she had received professional training. Sure enough, from her mouth, everyone knew that Wen Yujun's parents were also in the music industry. Her father was a musical instrument like Yu Hangwen and Xin Xian's master, and her mother sang Cantonese opera. The family opened a musical instrument store, and they lived a happy life. Wen Yujun didn't have to run out to work. But Wen Yujun liked singing since she was a child. When she heard about the singing competition in Jinbi Palace, she ran over despite her parents' opposition. Let me say here that more than 10 years have passed, and the entertainment industry in Hong Kong has flourished. Singers are no longer a lowly profession that makes people look down on them, but are called singers with a neutral word. Famous singers who sing well are singers, and they will be sought after by everyone. Therefore, singing is not a lowly profession now, and its status is much higher than that of 3 accompanying dancers. Even though there are some singing girls who are willing to work part-time as dancers for money, it cannot change the general high regard of the society for the profession of singers. Therefore, Wen Yujun will be a singer, and her parents just turn a blind eye. Otherwise, how could Wen Yujun run away from home to participate in the competition smoothly? It was not because of her parents' indulgence. Everyone unanimously let Wen Yujun pass the preliminary selection. The little girl left happily, and her excited back made people smile comfortably. Uncle Lang couldn't help but worry about Su Qingni. Such a beautiful and lovely girl is very popular with men, and she is a singer and Xin Xian is a musician. The two of them definitely spend more time together than others. If they get along for a long time, what if? Uncle Lang is worried about Su Qingni. This girl hasn't come to Jinbi Palace for several days. Could it be that she doesn't like Xin Xian that much? Is she going to let him go? The interview for the day ended at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The judges all went home to rest. At 7 o'clock in the evening, they had to come to Jinbi Palace to continue working. Xin Xian and Yu Hangwen were about to leave when Uncle Lang stopped them. "Uncle Lang, what's the matter?" Uncle Lang said, Xian, do you like girls like Wen Yujun? If Xin Xian really likes this type of girl, then let Ilya dress up like that. Ilya is still a young girl, and she will definitely kill Wen Yujun in seconds if she dresses up." Xin Xian was stunned for a moment, and said with a smile, "Uncle Lang, are you going to be a matchmaker for me? But you've been worrying in vain. I don't like this type of girl." "Then what type of girl do you like?" Uncle Lang asked. Xin Xian was silent for a moment, and the image of a woman flashed through his mind. He frowned. Could he say that he had feelings for an old woman who is older than him? Yu Hangwen poked Xin Xian's waist and said, "What have you been thinking about for so long?" Don't you have a rough idea? Zin Xian slapped Yu Hengwen's hand away and said to Uncle Lang, Uncle Lang, I don't know what kind of girl I would like. Now my mind is on music, and I haven't thought about finding a girlfriend yet. Brother, this won't work. Music is important, and so is a girlfriend. If you find a girlfriend to take care of you, won't you have more time to make music? Yu Hengwen put his hand on Zin Xian's shoulder with a smile. Zin Xian said contemptuously, I'm afraid you will have to spend more time on dates to please your girlfriend. Yu Hengwen chuckled. Uncle Lang was relieved to see that Zin Xian really had no intention of finding a girlfriend. He said with a hint of meaning, Xian, sometimes you should not only look at the side of a person that she shows. You should observe carefully and discover her hidden side, which will give you a big surprise. When Zin Xian heard Uncle Lang's tone, he seemed to want to match him with Ilya. He didn't know what he felt in his heart. He perfunctorily said a few words to Uncle Lang and left quickly with Yu Hengwen. Brother, walk slowly. Yu Hengwen was pulled and couldn't walk steadily, so he shouted quickly. Suddenly, his eyes caught a figure, and immediately, as if he had been injected with chicken blood, he quickly got rid of Zin Xian's hand and walked towards the beautiful figure. Hi, Shen Xiaohun, how are you? Do you remember me? Yu Hengwen adjusted his clothes, wiped the smooth top of his head with hair oil, and greeted the young girl like a gentleman. Shan Xiaohun was chatting with a good friend he met during the primary election. That friend was Wen Yujun. Shan Xiaohun was attracted by Yu Hengwen's elegant appearance, and her face flushed. Wen Yujun's mind was all on Zin Xian, and she looked like she was going to quarrel with Zin Xian again. The four men and women were divided into two pairs. Yu Hengwen and Shan Xiaohun were sweet and ambiguous on one side, while Wen Yujun and Zin Xian were on the other side. Wen Yujun regarded Zin Xian as an enemy and did not look good to him. Zin Xian was too lazy to argue with the little girl. If he had not been waiting for Yu Hengwen, who valued women over friends, he would have left alone. Suddenly, a young girl appeared in his sight. She was a girl in her early 20s, with a beautiful appearance, noble temperament, and elegant gestures. She looked like a girl from an unusual family. It's not that Zin Xian has never seen such a girl before, and he has never been interested in anyone, but the girl in front of him made him unable to forget her after taking a look. And he found that his heart beat very fast when facing this girl, except when facing Ilya. Did he fall in love with this girl at first sight? Between Ilya and this girl, he would rather choose this girl. Thinking of this, Zin Xian also valued beauty over friendship, left behind his good brother who was picking up girls, left behind Wen Yujun who was not interested in him, and strode towards the girl. However, before he walked in, the girl turned to another street. When he walked to the corner quickly, he could no longer see the girl. Zin Xian lowered his head in disappointment and turned away. He did not find the girl he was looking for standing under the eaves of a house at the gate. The girl used the wall as a cover and was staring at his back as she left. The corner of her mouth was hooked, with a smug smile on her face. Fishing is a pleasure, and patience is indispensable. And what she lacks the most is patience. Zin Xian will be hers sooner or later. She wanted to see which one he would choose when Su Qingni and Ilya both appeared in Zin Xian's life. Chapter 760, Peace and Prosperities of. The next 3 days were all for the preliminary selection, and finally 30 contestants were decided to enter the semifinals. Su Qingni, as a judge, had to attend the semifinals and the finals. Zin Xian saw Ilya again, and the sexy mature woman raised her glass to him and took a sip of the red wine in the glass. The wine moistened her red lips, making them look more gorgeous, tempting people to take a bite of them. Zin Xian couldn't help swallowing his saliva, nodded at Zin Xian, and then left and looked away, walking away quickly. Su Qingni chuckled and drank the red wine in the glass in one gulp. Ilya, are you in a good mood? Uncle Lang came over. Yes, I met people and things that made me happy. Uncle Lang said with a smile. Uncle Lang remembered that Zin Xian had just come to the Jinbi Palace, and it should be Ilya who met Zin Xian. Ilya, Uncle is kind enough to give you a suggestion. If you really like Xian, then you should use your other side to approach him. Uncle Lang gave Su Qingni advice sincerely. Well, I will. Su Qingni said with a smile. Uncle Lang, don't worry, I know what's going on. By the way, you have to keep my other side a secret from me, and don't tell Zin Xian. I want him to find out later. You. Uncle Lang said helplessly, aren't you afraid of capsizing? Su Qingni smiled proudly and ostentatiously. Uncle Lang, I'm sure, you have to have more confidence in me. Uncle Lang saw Su Qingni like this, and couldn't help shaking his head and laughing. This girl. The semifinals began, and when Yujun drew the first one, Uncle Lang whispered to Su Qingni, "This girl seems to be interested in Xian." If she wasn't interested, how could she be obsessed with Zin Xian after meeting him once and find fault with him? Aren't girls always hypocritical? Su Qingni looked at the young girl in front of her, curling her lips and chuckled, "Well, you have good taste. Did I ask you to admire your rival? I asked you to be careful with this girl, lest Xian be snatched away by this girl. You know, girls like this are very popular." Uncle Lang lowered his voice again and said in a mosquito-like voice, "How about we two join forces to prevent this girl from entering the finals?" Su Qingni shook her head with amusement and said, "Uncle Lang, you are the manager of Jinbi Palace and you are responsible for Jinbi Palace. How can you let go of such a good talent?" "Well, I don't need your help. I have confidence in myself. You don't have to use your power for my own benefit." Uncle Lang stared at Su Qingni's eyes for a while, and found that Su Qingni was full of confidence and not reluctant at all. He nodded and completely gave up the idea of eliminating Wen Yujun. Instead, he considered hiring Wen Yujun as a resident singer of Jinbi Palace in the future, how to give full play to her strengths, how to build momentum for Wen Yujun, and let her become one of the pillars of Jinbi Palace as soon as possible. Su Qingni gave Wen Yujun a high evaluation and entered the finals with a high score. Wen Yujun was very happy. Before leaving, she ran to Su Qingni and asked for an autograph from Su Qingni. "Ilya, my whole family is your fan. Can you sign for me?" Wen Yujun ran to Su Qingni excitedly. Su Qingni smiled good-temperedly, picked up a pen and paper, signed for Wen Yujun, and wrote a blessing. Wen Yujun happily held the autograph in her arms, as if she was walking on cotton, and floated away. When she reached the door, Wen Yujun bumped into a man's suspicion. She didn't hold the signature in her arms properly, so it fell out of her hand and fell into the wastewater bucket used for mopping the floor in the corner. All the signatures were ruined. Wen Yujun was so distressed. Ilya's signature, she hadn't shown it to her parents yet, and it was ruined. Wen Yujun was so angry that she raised her head and cursed, "Are your eyes decorations? You don't even look at the road when you walk? It's you again." Wen Yujun saw the appearance of the person who bumped into her, and it was Zin Xian. Zin Xian retorted coldly, "Miss, you are the one who doesn't have eyes, you bumped into me." Wen Yujun was at a loss for words. Well, the responsibility was indeed mostly on her. Wen Yujun stiffened her neck and said, "Then why don't you avoid it?" Wen Yujun felt that Zin Xian was simply her calamity. Every time she met him, she would be unlucky. Thinking of this, Wen Yujun immediately took a few steps to the side, staying away from Zin Xian as if avoiding the plague, and ran around him out of the Jinbi Palace. Yu Hengwen saw all of Wen Yujun's reactions and laughed so hard that he fell backwards. "Xian, this girl's reaction is so interesting. She is treating you like a monster. But then again, you two are quite predestined. Just like the saying goes, enemies always come together." Zin Xian rolled his eyes at him and strode to the backstage. Yu Hengwen hurriedly followed, and kept making fun of Zin Xian as he walked. Su Qingni watched this scene from beginning to end and couldn't help but raise her eyebrows. "Enemies always come together?" Exclamation mark. With her here, all the little enemies will be driven away. Shan Ziahong began to perform, and Yu Hengwen stood by her side, staring at her with shining eyes throughout the performance, and occasionally made a gesture of encouragement to her. Shan Ziahong was still a little nervous in front of the judges, but when she saw Yu Hengwen cheering her on, a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. She calmed down, and began to sing. Yu Hengwen is quite capable. In just one day, he seems to have hooked up with a girl. She has a good voice. Although she doesn't have any skills, she can be trained. Su Qingni gave her opinion. The others were evaluated to follow Su Qingni's lead, so naturally Shan Ziahong passed. Shan Ziahong was extremely happy. Yu Hengwen hurried over to congratulate her and made an appointment with her to celebrate together later. "Young people." Su Qingni sighed. "Uncle Lang, you are also a young person, don't always imitate my tone of voice." "Uncle Lang, it seems that Hengwen is serious this time." Su Qingni, Shan Ziahong is suitable for family and is the best candidate for a wife. Yu Hengwen is not good in other aspects, but he has a good eye for people. Whether it is looking for a brother or a wife? Uncle Lang nodded. The next performer was a young man in his 20s, whose singing level was comparable to Wen Yujun. Su Qingni gave him a very high evaluation without hesitation. Uncle Lang asked quietly, "Why? You've taken a fancy to this young man again." Su Qingni chuckled, "Uncle Lang, this is my little brother, he has been following me since the beginning. This kid wants to be a singer, how can I, as the boss, not support him?" Uncle Lang suddenly realized and decided to take good care of this young man named Tang Bowen. The name Tang Bowen was given by Su Qingni to the little brother. Originally, the young man's name was Tang Erzu. Chapter 761, Peace and Prosperity. Xin Xian saw a beautiful figure and immediately chased after her. This time, he finally did not lose her. But what excuse should he use to get to know the girl in front? Xin Xian couldn't help but recall the methods and excuses that Zhu Zhangwan used to chat up girls in his mind, trying to find a less outrageous one. However, before he could find an excuse, God gave him an excuse. The girl in front seemed to have stepped on a stone, her foot tilted, her body began to tilt, and she fell to the side. Xin Xian immediately stepped forward, hugged the girl's waist, and supported the girl. "Are you okay?" Xin Xian asked with concern. The girl frowned her beautiful eyebrows and said, "Thank you for supporting me. Can you help me sit down on the side of the road? I twisted my foot." Xin Xian quickly half-carried the girl to the side of the street and helped the girl sit on a stone pier. He squatted down to help Su Qingni check her ankle. Sure enough, the girl's left ankle was swollen. "Take you to see a doctor," Xin Xian said. "No, I'll just apply some medicinal wine when I get home." The girl didn't want to go to the hospital. She raised her head and smiled at Xin Xian. "Kind sir, help me to the end, can you take me home?" Of course. Xin Xian was very happy in his heart. This way he could know where the girl he liked lived. It would be convenient to find the girl he liked in the future. Xin Xian squatted down. This time he didn't half hug and half support her, but put one hand around the girl's waist and the other hand through the girl's legs, and picked up the girl like a princess. "Where is your home? You show me the way, I'll carry you home." Xin Xian had a serious expression on his face. "Your ankle is swollen, it's not convenient to walk." "Thank you." The girl's voice was soft and beautiful. Xin Xian kept looking ahead, not daring to look down at the girl in his arms, so he didn't see the smug smile on the corner of the girl's mouth. Xin Xian thought the girl was a lady from a wealthy family, but he didn't expect that she lived in a place like Lianchang's where all kinds of people mixed together. This is the most chaotic and dangerous place in Gangcheng. The girl lived in such a place, I'm afraid she is not as weak and harmless as she appears. Entering the girl's home, Xin Xian found the medicinal wine under the girl's guidance and helped the girl apply the medicine and massage her ankle. The girl thanked him. "Thank you so much today." "You're welcome, I'm very happy to help you," Xin Xian said. Although he knew that the girl might be two-faced, it did not prevent him from being moved by the girl and changing his idea of getting close to the girl and getting to know her. "My name is Su Qingni, what about you? What's your name? What do you do?" the girl asked. Xin Xian answered honestly, "My name is Xin Xian, and I'm a musician in the Jinbi Palace." "So you work in the Jinbi Palace?" "My sister used to work in the Jinbi Palace too." The girl smiled and said. "Then we are quite predestined." Xin Xian thought of Yu Hangwen's teasing of him and Wen Yujun, and felt that such words should be suitable for him and the girl. The girl nodded with a smile. "Nice to meet you. When my leg is healed, I will treat you to a meal to thank you." "Okay." Xin Xian did not refuse. In this way, he will be able to meet the girl again. After meeting her several times and interacting with her more, he will be able to become friends with her and eventually become her boyfriend and girlfriend. Xin Xian stayed at the girl's house for a long time, chatting with her. He deliberately tried to find out the girl's information, and the girl did not hide it and revealed all her information to Xin Xian. Xin Xian knew that the girl was adopted by a legendary dancer leader of the Jinbi Palace, but the dancer leader died when the girl was only 13 or 14 years old. The girl did not fall to the streets again because she was very good. When she was only 8 or 9 years old, she led a group of children from Lianchang's to set up a courier company, the first and only courier company in the city of Gangcheng. Thinking of the scale of the courier companies in the city today, Xin Xian couldn't help but smack his lips. No wonder he thought Su Qingni was a rich girl before. It turns out that she is really a rich girl, but she earns all the money herself. The girl was admitted to Gangcheng University at the age of 14. She had a diploma and wealth. Such an excellent girl, Xin Xian couldn't help but feel ashamed and felt that he was not worthy of Su Qingni. However, he would not give up. In more than 20 years, this was one of the only 2 women he was attracted to. How could he let her go? Unless Su Qingni liked someone else and chose someone else, he would definitely not let her go. It was time to go to work. Zin Xian said goodbye to Su Qingni and left. Su Qingni stood by the window, watching Zin Xian's back getting smaller and smaller until it disappeared completely, and laughed softly. She circulated the self-cultivation skills in her body, and after a while, the redness and swelling on her ankles disappeared a lot. But it couldn't be completely eliminated, and the rules of this world restricted her a lot. Although there was still a slight pain when walking, this pain was close to nothing for her. Su Qingni walked to the dressing table, picked up the cosmetics and started to put on makeup. After a while, the young and beautiful girl in the mirror turned into a coquettish mature woman. After changing her clothes, Su Qingni swayed to the Jinbi Palace. The singing competition has ended. When Yujun won the championship, Tang Bowen won the runner-up, and another beautiful woman with mediocre singing, Julia, won the 3rd place. This Julia is the new lover of the boss of Jinbi Palace, and was originally the champion. However, with Wen Yujun, who is so outstanding that everyone can see it, and Tang Bowen, who is backed by Su Qingni, Julia can only be the 3rd unwillingly. She knows that Tang Bowen has a backer, because she dare not be angry with Tang Bowen. All her anger is vented on Wen Yujun, targeting Wen Yujun in various ways. The top 10 of the singing competition were invited by Uncle Lang to work in Jinbi Palace, but several people refused and entered other dance halls with better treatment. In addition to the top 3, there are 2 girls, Shan Ziaohan and Liu Miao, who finally joined Jinbi Palace. Uncle Lang asked Wen Yujun, Shan Ziaohan and Liu Miao to form a group and perform together. When they are fully familiar with the work of Jinbi Palace and have a certain popularity among the guests, they will be allowed to perform separately. Wen Yujun, Shan Ziaohan and Liu Miao are of similar age and work together, so they naturally formed a strong friendship and became very good friends. Julia took her anger out on Shan Ziaohan and Liu Miao because of Wen Yujun, and the 2 girls of course helped their friend Wen Yujun to confront Julia. The daily mockery and quarrels between the 2 parties became a scene in the Jinbi Palace. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 762, Peace and Prosperity. When Zin Xian was playing, Su Qingni's figure was all in his mind. The music was filled with his emotions, making it even more beautiful. Su Qingni sat in her own exclusive seat, listening to Zin Xian's music, feeling his mood, with a big curve at the corner of her mouth. After a song was over, Zin Xian opened his eyes and his eyes met Su Qingni's. Su Qingni raised her wine glass towards Zin Xian. Zin Xian frowned. He still had a heartbeat for Alia, but he would never accept Alia. If it weren't for Su Qingni, maybe one day he would accept Alia, but with the existence of Su Qingni, there was no possibility for him and Alia. Brother Yuan, Sister Alia invites you to have a drink. The waiter Xiao came to find Zin Xian. Zin Xian nodded, got rid of Yu Hangwen who is worried about his chastity, and came to Su Qingni. Sister Alia. Zin Xian looked like a junior respectful to his elder. Sit down. Su Qingni pointed to the seat beside her, have 2 drinks with me. Zin Xian sat down, poured himself a glass of wine, and toasted Su Qingni. The 2 drank the red wine in the glass at the same time. You are in a good mood. Su Qingni said. Zin Xian nodded. People who have a deep understanding of music can tell whether someone is in a good mood from their music. I met a girl I like. Zin Xian went straight to the point, wanting to let Alia know that it is impossible for him to be with him, and to cut off Alia's thoughts. Oh. Su Qingni just responded lightly. Zin Xian was a little confused by Su Qingni's reaction, and said, I have a girl I like. I can only live up to Sister Alia's kindness to me. Su Qingni showed a seductive smile, moved in front of Zin Xian, and sprayed her warm breath on Zin Xian's face, making Zin Xian's heart beat faster and blushing. Even if you have a girl you like, you can still date me. Su Qingni blew seductively, making Zin Xian's face redder. Gang Cheng allows men to marry wives and concubines. And I don't mind being your wife or concubine. We just need to maintain a lover relationship. The very tempting proposal made Zin Xian's heart beat for a moment. However, Zin Xian himself is a very principled person, and he is not a scumbag. He hesitated for a moment and resolutely rejected the proposal. Sister Elijah, love and marriage are a matter between two people, and a third person cannot be allowed to intervene. I don't have the idea of hugging left and right in my life. I just want a wife, support each other, and grow old together. Zin Xian tilted his head back and tried his best to distance himself from Su Qingni. Su Qingni chuckled and stepped back, widening the distance between her and Zin Xian. I'll give you one last chance to choose. Zin Xian said firmly, my choice will not change. No regrets. No regrets. Okay. Su Qingni smiled, I won't look for you again in the future, you can go. Thank you, Sister Ilya. Zin Xian stood up, bowed to Su Qingni sincerely to thank her, and turned to leave. Su Qingni laughed happily, and her laughter was full of the pleasure of a successful prank. She was looking forward to Zin Xian's expression when he discovered her vest. She turned her eyes to an angle and looked at the three girls who were hiding in the dark and peeking. When the three girls saw that Su Qingni had discovered them, they immediately retracted their heads and ran away quickly. Su Qingni continued to laugh. The three girls were Wen Yujun, Liu Miaomio and Shan Xiaohan. Wen Yujun had already discovered that she liked Zin Xian at this time. Hearing that the old woman Ilya had ill intentions towards Zin Xian, Wen Yujun ran over to check the situation worriedly. Even though Ilya was once her idol, at this time, she had completely lost her good impression of Ilya and regarded him as a bad woman and an enemy. Liu Miaomio and Shan Xiaohan, as her good sisters, shared the same hatred with her. It must be said that Wen Yujun and Zin Xian were quite predestined. In addition to working together at the Jinbi Palace at night, they often met each other during the day due to various accidents. With more opportunities to get along, Wen Yujun naturally fell in love with Zin Xian. If Zin Xian was another man, he would also like Wen Yujun because of these fates, right? The two were like the male and female protagonists of a love novel, and the heavens were helping them to match them. But so what? Zin Xian was Su Qingni's man, and she would never give Zin Xian to another woman. That night, Su Qingni drank a whole bottle of red wine in a good mood. When she got up and left the Jinbi Palace, she said hello to Uncle Lang. There were many guests today, and Uncle Lang was very busy. When Su Qingni came, Uncle Lang didn't chat with her. What happened to you? Why are you walking unsteadily? Uncle Lang asked with concern. Nothing. I twisted my foot in the afternoon and it still hurts a little now. Su Qingni said indifferently, but it's not a big deal. It will be alright tomorrow. Zin Xian, Yu Hengwan and Wen Yujun, three girls, just came out from the backstage and happened to hear the conversation between Su Qingni and Uncle Lang. Zin Xian was stunned. Ilya also sprained his foot. How could it be such a coincidence? It seemed as if something was about to come out, but the feeling was fleeting, so fast that he couldn't grasp the clue. He shook his head and looked at Ilya deeply. When Yujun found that Zin Xian was looking at Su Qingni, and hurriedly stepped forward to block Zin Xian's side of Su Qingni, and said lively, where should we go for supper? Or should we go for seafood? It's this time, where's there a seafood restaurant open? Liu Miaomio took over, walked to Wen Yujun, and helped Wen Yujun block Zin Xian's side. I know a seafood restaurant that doesn't close at night. We can go there to eat. Wen Yujun's cheerful voice was very contagious, and the other people also wanted to eat seafood. The five young people walked out of the door with laughter, and Uncle Lang looked at Su Qingni with doubts and worries. Su Qingni smiled at Uncle Lang soothingly, don't worry, everything is under my control. The next day, when Su Qingni was resting at home, Zin Xian came to visit her at her home. Zin Xian said that Su Qingni had injured her leg at home alone, and he was worried. Su Qingni smiled and welcomed Zin Xian into the house, and the two spent a whole day happily together. In this way, Zin Xian would go to Su Qingni's house during the day, and the relationship between the two got better and better as they got along. As long as Zin Xian took the initiative to confess once, Su Qingni would immediately nod and agree. Zin Xian also discovered this, and he was asking his good friend for ideas, thinking about how to plan a romantic confession. Chapter 763, Peace and Prosperity. At night, Su Qingni transformed into Ilya and went to the Jinbi Palace to drink and listen to songs. She never asked Zin Xian to come and drink with her again, but just sat quietly beside the table and didn't dance. Her low profile made everyone in the dance hall ignore her, but only Zin Xian would not ignore her. Zin Xian felt that Su Qingni's presence was very strong, and he couldn't ignore it no matter how hard he wanted to. He didn't know what Su Qingni was thinking, and was just glad that Su Qingni agreed not to look for him anymore. He was afraid. Ilya was very attractive to him, and he was afraid that one day he would do something to let Su Qingni down. Xin Xian could only pretend not to see Su Qingni and try to ignore her existence. Finally, after planning with his good brother for a long time, Xin Xian made a very romantic confession. Su Qingni naturally accepted Xin Xian's confession, and the two became a very sweet couple. Yu Hengwen was ignored by his girlfriend Shan Xiaohun for several days because he helped Xin Xian confess to another woman. Shan Xiaohun and Liu Miao were worried about Wen Yujun, and they stayed with Wen Yujun for several days in a row, so they had no time to accompany their boyfriends. Well, Liu Miao's boyfriend is Tang Bowen. Wen Yujun was really sad. Her first love, the first man she liked, turned out to be another woman's. Wen Yujun was a little unwilling and wanted to see what kind of person Xin Xian's girlfriend was. The three girls secretly followed Xin Xian to date and saw Su Qingni. Su Qingni's appearance and temperament made the three girls feel ashamed. Although they looked no less beautiful than Su Qingni, their temperament was completely incomparable to hers. Then she heard from Tang Bowen about Su Qingni's great achievements. She went to college at the age of 14 and graduated from Gangchang University. She set up a courier company when she was 8 or 9 years old, and now she is the person in charge of the largest courier company in Gangcheng, a very rich first-generation rich. Wen Yujun was deeply shocked and depressed. No matter how she looked at it, she could not compare with Su Qingni. Wen Yujun left dejectedly, and her two good sisters followed her and kept comforting her. The man and his girlfriend, who they thought were following them without being noticed, turned their eyes to the direction they left. Wen Yujun is about to cry. Don't you feel sorry for her? Su Qingni asked. Xin Xian stretched out his hand and scratched Su Qingni's nose. Are you jealous? Don't worry, I don't have any interest in her at all. This is just right, so that she can completely give up. She is a good girl and deserves a boy to love her wholeheartedly. Su Qingni nodded. Wen Yujun is indeed a very good girl with a very likable personality. If she were not a rival in love, Su Qingni would like this girl very much. There are also many boys who like Wen Yujun, including musicians in the dance hall and guests who come to the dance hall to consume, and there are many excellent ones among them. By the way, how do you know Wen Yujun's name? Xin Xian was puzzled that Su Qingni said Wen Yujun's name so naturally, even though she had never been to the Jinbi Palace. Su Qingni was not flustered at all. She smiled and said, I want to know everything about you. Especially when there is such a lovely girl as my love rival. I must know myself and my enemy to win every battle. Xin Xian smiled and held Su Qingni's hand. Wen Yujun is not your love rival. Yet, it was a wonderful afternoon. Xin Xian and his beloved woman made a step closer and became the first man of his beloved woman. Holding his beloved woman's shoulders, Xin Xian's heart and eyes were full of happiness. Su Qingni reminded Xin Xian, aren't you getting up yet? Are you going to skip work tonight? Skipping work was impossible. Xin Xian kissed Su Qingni lingeringly, forced himself to get up from the bed, and began to put on his clothes. The previous actions of the two were too intense. Xin Xian's shirt was torn by Su Qingni, and Su Qingni's clothes could no longer be worn. Xin Xian was a little embarrassed holding the shirt. Should he wear such a shirt or not? Su Qingni said, there are also clothes I bought for you in the closet, including shirts. Xin Xian quickly threw away the torn shirt, took a few steps forward and opened the closet. What caught his attention at first was not the men's clothes in the closet, but the exquisite cheongsams. The styles and patterns of these cheongsams looked very familiar to Xin Xian. He couldn't help but reach out and take one down to examine it carefully. This cheongsam is high-end and made by a master craftsman. There are very few of them. It is possible that there is only one in Hong Kong. He only saw one woman wearing it. Xin Xian put down the cheongsam, turned around slowly, and looked at the woman who had walked behind him. Many things that puzzled him before were now all solved. Did you let me see it on purpose? Xin Xian asked. Yes. Su Qingni nodded. You didn't notice it until now, which made me feel guilty if I kept it a secret. Would you feel guilty? Do you want to watch the show and see me look silly when I discover your other side? Xin Xian snorted. He knew the woman in front of him very well. Su Qingni blinked her eyes and smiled. What? Are you angry? Do you want to walk away and ignore me in the future? You wish. Xin Xian pulled Su Qingni into his arms and increased his strength in revenge, as if he wanted to melt Su Qingni into his body. Since you have provoked me, don't even think about leaving. Su Qingni spoke softly in his arms. I didn't mean to tease you. When Sister Manling died, I was only 14 years old. I had to dress up as an adult and support myself. I never thought that Ilya would become a celebrity. I fell in love with you at first sight, but you obviously didn't like Ilya's personality. I had to approach you with my real identity. You. Xin Xian sighed. Although he was angry, he was more surprised. Ilya and Su Qingni were both women who had a fatal attraction to him. He was always afraid that he would do something wrong and let Su Qingni down. Unexpectedly, Su Qingni was Ilya. The two women he loved were actually the same woman. He didn't have to make a mistake. Su Qingni laughed happily in Xin Xian's arms, and Xin Xian laughed too. Xin Xian kissed Su Qingni's forehead. Let's go to the Jinbi Palace together tonight. Okay. Su Qingni smiled. Do you want me to go with Su Qingni's appearance? Or with Ilya's appearance? Xin Xian smiled dotingly and said, it's up to you. Su Qingni changed into Ilya's Cheongsam, but she didn't put on heavy makeup on her face, revealing her entire appearance. Her beautiful face accompanied by her sexy figure was extremely tempting to Xin Xian. Xin Xian almost didn't want to go to work. Finally, the two of them entered the Jinbi Palace hand in hand, which surprised everyone. Chapter 764, Peace and Prosperity. Everyone looked at Su Qingni with surprise. That temperament, that dress, that movement, exactly the same as Ilya. But she was so young, looking like she was only in her early 20s, which didn't match Ilya. Could this woman be Ilya's sister? Or did this woman specifically imitate Ilya's dress? She knew that Ilya had feelings for Xin Xian and was jealous, so she dressed like this, wanting to compete with Ilya to see who was more beautiful. The above ideas came from Yu Zhangwen, Wen Yujun, Liu Miaomio and Shan Ziahan. They recognized Su Qingni's appearance and thought that Su Qingni came to the Jinbi Palace to declare war on Ilya. Yu Zhangwen chuckled and said, it's going to be a good show. Ilya. Uncle Lang walked over from behind Su Qingni. I heard that you changed your makeup. Su Qingni turned around and let Uncle Lang see her face with only nude makeup. Uncle Lang was stunned for a moment, then smiled. Yes, that's how young girls look. The heavy makeup you wore before really doesn't suit you. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Is this woman really Ilya? She's really good at keeping a mistress, right? A woman in her 30s looks like a girl in her early 20s. Yu Zhangwen and the other four were even more shocked. Did Xin Xian abandon his girlfriend and join the arms of an old woman like Ilya? Su Qingni chuckled. I used to wear such heavy makeup to hide my age and make myself look older so that people wouldn't look down on me for being too young. Now that I have a boyfriend, if I put on heavy makeup again, wouldn't it make people think that Xian and I are in a sister-brother relationship? Uncle Lang laughed. Are you really doing it? It was Xin Xian who answered Uncle Lang. Uncle Lang, when we get married, you will be our master of ceremonies. Uncle Lang happily agreed. Okay. I am also a witness to your love, so it's appropriate for me to be the master of ceremonies. Yu Zhangwen walked over, pointed at Su Qingni with an exaggerated expression on his face, and asked Xin Xian, she is your girlfriend Su Qingni? Is she also Ilya? She is actually only in her 20s. Xin Xian nodded. Yu Zhangwen found it incredible. What is going on? Brother, tell me quickly. Xin Xian and Su Qingni looked at each other, and pulled Yu Zhangwen aside to explain the matter of Su Qingni. No one in the dance hall dared to ask Su Qingni, and they all surrounded Xin Xian and Yu Zhangwen, wanting to hear Xin Xian's explanation. Su Qingni and Uncle Lang chatted with a smile, and walked to their own exclusive seats and sat down. Uncle Lang asked with concern, when are you getting married? Su Qingni replied, I haven't decided yet, but it shouldn't be later than this year. In the blink of an eye, you are getting married. Time flies so fast. Uncle Lang sighed. Su Qingni said, Uncle Lang, it's time to find a woman to marry. Sister Manling has been dead for 10 years. Uncle Lang stared at the front with a hazy look in his eyes. He was missing someone in his memory. Su Qingni didn't disturb him. After a long while, Uncle Lang came back to his senses, picked up the wine that Su Qingni poured for him, and drank it all in one gulp. I'm old, and it's too late to get married. No good woman is willing to marry me. Uncle Lang, you're not even 50 yet. You've maintained such a good figure and are very elegant. Compared to those young guys who haven't even grown all their hair, you have more charm of a mature man, which is very popular with women. Some girls just like your uncle-like personality. Su Qingni smiled. She felt that Uncle Lang had softened a little. Girls like young guys like your boyfriend. Uncle Lang pointed at Zin Xian, who was surrounded by a group of women, and smiled. You'd better hurry up, don't let others take your boyfriend away. Su Qingni glanced at that place and said, I have confidence in my man. While the two were talking, more than 10 minutes had passed. Zin Xian sent away all the curious people, walked over, sat down next to Su Qingni, picked up the wine glass in front of her, drank all the wine in it, and reminded her, drinking is harmful to your health, drink less in the future. Okay. Su Qingni responded softly. Uncle Lang stood up with a smile, leaving the space for a couple. The two of them were intimate for a while, and Zin Xian had to go to work, so he went to the backstage of the ballroom. The other people in the ballroom were very curious about Su Qingni. After hearing about her legendary experience, everyone admired and was curious about Su Qingni. They all found excuses to run to Su Qingni, wanting to see Su Qingni with their own eyes. Su Qingni couldn't help laughing. It's not like she hadn't seen it before. Everyone, in the past, you were so made up that we couldn't tell your true face. Isn't this the first time we see your true face? We are admiring you again. Su Qingni, get out. I'm not dead yet. Someone else approached her, and Su Qingni looked over lazily. Oh, it turned out to be Wen Yujun, an admirer of her boyfriend. When Yujun saw that Su Qingni noticed her, hesitated for a moment, cheered herself up, and walked over. Sit down. Su Qingni pointed to the seat next to her. No need. When Yujun stood in front of Su Qingni, took a deep breath, and said to Su Qingni, Sister Elijah, congratulations on becoming a couple with Zin Xian. I wish you happiness and a long life together. After that, she turned around and ran away. Su Qingni laughed. What a lovely girl. The wedding date of Su Qingni and Zin Xian was set for 3 months later. The two happily tried on dresses and took wedding photos. The two took a set of Western-style wedding photos, but the wedding dress scheduled to be worn on the wedding day was Chinese-style, made by Su Qingni herself. Su Qingni was happy, but the situation became chaotic. A war broke out in a country in Southeast Asia, and the United States was also involved. The soldiers of the United States went to that country and stopped in the port city for repairs. The people in the port city were afraid that the war would spread here, and they were all panicked. Some people took the opportunity to make trouble, smashing and looting. Riots broke out from time to time on the streets, and it was not safe for people to walk on the road. Zin Xian was worried about Su Qingni, so he simply moved to Su Qingni's place. The two of them went in and out together and were almost inseparable. But it was only almost. The two were not conjoined twins, and there would always be a time to separate. Zin Xian received a call from Yu Zhengwen. Shan Ziahan and Wen Yujun had been out and had not returned. There was another riot on the street. Yu Zhengwen was worried that they would be affected and wanted to go out to find people. Zin Xian was Yu Zhengwen's good brother, so he naturally wanted to help. Su Qingni also wanted to go, but was strongly stopped by Zin Xian. Zin Xian knew that Su Qingni had a good fighting ability, but he was still worried that Su Qingni would be in danger. Who said Su Qingni looked like a weak girl? Su Qingni couldn't beat Zin Xian, so she could only stay at home and wait for Zin Xian to come back. I'm leaving. Chapter 765, Peace and Prosperity. I'm leaving. Zin Xian said to Su Qingni with a bright smile, wait for me to come back, I will bring back your favorite roast pigeon. This was the last sentence Zin Xian said to Su Qingni in this world. That day, Su Qingni stayed at home reading a book. Suddenly, her chest hurt and tears flowed down. She felt that someone had left this world. How cruel. She had just reunited with him, and he left again, not even giving her a wedding. The next day, Su Qingni saw Zin Xian's body. Wen Yujun couldn't help crying, as if the dead person was her husband. Yu Zhengwen came to Su Qingni with a pale face and asked Su Qingni for forgiveness. If he hadn't pulled Zin Xian out to find someone, Zin Xian wouldn't have died, and now he would be happily preparing for the wedding with Su Qingni. As soon as Yu Zhengwen finished speaking, Wen Yujun rushed over and cried and apologized to Su Qingni, saying that it was all her fault and Zin Xian died to protect her. Su Qingni's face was very ugly. She didn't want to see Wen Yujun at all now. Get out. Don't show up in front of me again. Otherwise, I'm afraid I can't control myself and kill you. Wen Yujun wanted to say something, but was pulled away by Yu Zhengwen. He saw Su Qingni's cold expression and felt the murderous aura on Su Qingni's body, and knew that Su Qingni was not empty. This lady can really do things like killing people. She was born in Lianchang's He. She was a legendary figure who was able to make a name for herself in Hong Kong City with a group of children at the age of 8 or 9. Yu Hengwen didn't believe it if she said she had never killed anyone. Although Su Qingni looks like a delicate daughter on the surface, doesn't Uncle Lang also look like a good old man? In fact, Uncle Lang used to be a killer-type figure who was feared by people on the road, and Su Qingni was so close to Uncle Lang. Doesn't it just prove the saying that birds of a feather flock together? Su Qingni heard about the whole thing from Yu Hengwen. There was a riot on the street before. When Yu Jun and Shan Ziahan were lucky to escape and were found by Xin Xian and Yu Hengwen. But when she was about to go home, when Yu Jun found that one of her jade pendant necklaces had fallen off. The jade pendant was her heirloom, and she had to find it, otherwise she would not be able to explain to her parents. Xin Xian and Yu Hengwen thought that the riot had just stopped and there should not be another riot so soon. So they accompanied Wen Yujun to find the jade pendant. The jade pendant was successfully found, but unfortunately, they encountered the second riot. Even more unfortunate, this time the thugs not only had knives, sticks and axes in their hands, but also wooden cannons. Even more unfortunate, a group of people were affected by stray bullets, and 2 grown men protected the 2 women behind them. However, they were not Iron Man, nor were they the descendants of Iron Shirt, and their bodies could not stop bullets. So, Xin Xian died just like that. He died very aggrievedly, without having time to say goodbye to his beloved girl. Su Qingni's face was dark, and she spoke. Her voice was so cold that it seemed to drop ice chips. Sangu, find out which of our people are responsible for the riot. I don't want them to see tomorrow's sunrise. Yes. Sangu took the order and immediately went to do it. Yu Hengwen shuddered violently, his heart was frightened, and he was terrified of the woman in front of him. This is the true face of Su Qingni. Xian didn't know that Su Qingni had this side until his death, right? Yu Hengwen hurriedly pleaded with Su Qingni, Elia, Wen Yujun didn't kill Xian. Xian just happened to stand in front of Wen Yujun. You shouldn't bother with Wen Yujun. After all, Wen Yujun's life was saved by Xian. You can't let Xian save her in vain, right? Su Qingni glanced at him coldly and said, just don't show up in front of me again. She was angry at Wen Yujun, but she wasn't so angry that she would kill her. She was angry at this world and the so-called plot constructed by this world. She understood. This world has a plot, and Wen Yujun and Xin Xian should be the male and female protagonists, while Yu Hengwen, Liu Miaomio and Shan Ziahan are the secondary protagonists. She remembered a TV series she had watched on Earth a long time ago, which was about the youth life of 4 girls who sang in a dance hall. The dance hall recorded every bit of their time and witnessed their growth. 3 of the 4 heroines in that TV series had bad endings, and only one got married early and had a husband and children. The other 3, one husband was a gambler, and he finally corrected it, but he and his wife died in the war wrinkles. One was separated from his lover by mistake and died early. The last one, although he reunited with his lover, it was more than 20 years after they separated. Su Qingni felt that the plot of this world was definitely borrowed from the plot of this TV series, and it was a tragedy. The male protagonist died, and the female protagonist missed him alone for a lifetime. Thinking of this, Su Qingni was so angry that her liver, stomach and head hurt. In other words, her strength is suppressed now, and when she recovers her strength, she will definitely make the rules of this world look good. Because of Sangu's violent actions, the thugs who did not participate in Xin Xian's death were frightened. The riots in Gangchang were reduced, giving the police a chance to breathe and control the situation. Not long after, Gangchang returned to its original peace. Su Qingni never went to Jinbi Palace again. However, Uncle Lang occasionally came to Su Qingni for tea, and Su Qingni learned about Wen Yujun and others from Uncle Lang. Yu Hengwen and Shan Ziahan got married. After experiencing the death of his good brother, Yu Hengwen matured a lot. He was no longer as carefree as before, no longer gambled, and no longer hooked up with beautiful girls. He became a good man responsible for his family. With such a husband, Shan Ziahan was very happy. After getting married, Shan Ziahan did not go to Jinbi Palace to sing again. Yu Hengwen did not want Shan Ziahan to show up again. Shan Ziahan was a good wife and mother, so she naturally listened to her husband. However, she occasionally went to Jinbi Palace to visit her 2 good girlfriends. Liu Miaomio and Tang Bowen broke up. As Su Qingni's younger brother, Tang Bowen didn't like Wen Yujun very much, while Liu Miaomio was Wen Yujun's good sister. The two often quarreled because of Wen Yujun and eventually broke up. Tang Bowen left the Jinbi Palace, and Su Qingni asked Sangu to open a music company, trying her best to push Tang Bowen to the throne of the most famous singer in Hong Kong. Liu Miao finally married a guest of the Jinbi Palace. The guest was more than 10 years older than Liu Miao, almost 20 years old, and had children. Liu Miao was his second wife, but this man was very good to Liu Miao and was a very considerate husband. Liu Miao felt that she was still happy. As for Wen Yujun. Chapter 766 Vampire, Darkened, 1. Wen Yujun was spotted by another record company. With the company's packaging and promotion, she became the most popular singer in Hong Kong before Tang Bowen. Then, Wen Yujun gave up her reputation and everything to go abroad. I heard that her agent chased her abroad. I just don't know if this infatuated agent can impress Wen Yujun's heart and win her back. Uncle Lang got married. His wife is 2 years younger than him. She is a little woman with a personality similar to Shan Xiaohan. Only 1 year after marriage, Uncle Lang's wife gave birth to a big fat son for him. Uncle Lang is now content with his son, and the whole person is more like my trail Buddha. I am the dividing line for crossing again. Because she couldn't stay with her lover for a lifetime in the last world, Su Qingni was holding back her anger and always wanted to find a channel to vent. After crossing to this world, knowing the tragic experience of her original body, Su Qingni decided to turn evil and play with this world. There are mysterious forces in this world. There are vampires in this world. However, these vampires are not the product of the West, but the product of the country of Niangniang. Yes, after being reborn in the world of Bangzi country, Su Qingni was reborn in the world of Niangniang country. Vampires are high above and control most of the economic lifeline of Niangniang country. They live a noble life. They are the nobles of Niangniang country. Even the high officials of the government can't do anything to them and have to bow to them. Only an organization called Vampire Hunters fights against vampires. The parents of the original body are members of the Vampire Hunters organization. The two hunted many vampires, and their reputation frightened the low-level vampires. Therefore, the king of vampires avenged the original body's family. The parents of the original body died at the hands of the vampire king, and the original body also died. The original body had two twin brothers, one of whom was taken away by the vampire, and the other was rescued by the hunter organization. Before Su Qingni came, the original body was dead, so the people of the hunter organization only took away the original body's older brother Ito Qianshu. Before the police arrived, Su Qingni possessed the body of the original body and tried her best to use the original body's broken body to leave Ito's house. Su Qingni didn't want to be targeted by vampires and the hunter organization before she had the strength. Because of the family feud of her original body, Su Qingni and vampires were definitely irreconcilable. And Su Qingni didn't believe in the hunter organization. The hunter organization has been monitoring the vampires. The dispatch of the vampire king is a big event. How could the people of the hunter organization not find out? The Ito family was slaughtered, which only means that someone in the hunter organization wanted them dead. Someone in the hunter organization colluded with the vampires. It is possible that the hunter organization had an agreement with the vampires a long time ago. Otherwise, why do the two organizations exist? Did one eliminate the other? For the sake of profit, whether it is vampires or humans, anything can be done. Su Qingni hid in the dark and watched the police enter the Ito family. After that, the matter of the Ito family was closed with the bandits breaking into a private house to steal and being discovered by the owner, and then suddenly killing the owner. Su Qingni sneered in her heart. 5 years later, the genius girl scientist Su Qingni sent invitations to the world's top biological scientists, physical scientists, chemical scientists and medical masters to attend a party, and she also invited leaders from other countries except Niangniang to attend the party. Su Qingni said that she would show something important that would change the lives of all mankind at the party. The scientists and leaders were curious. In view of the genius scientist's enchanting achievements, no one thought she was lying. Seeing that everyone was there, Su Qingni turned on the projector and started playing the PPT. Everyone first watched the PPT with anticipation. After a while, everyone's expression became embarrassed, thinking that they were fooled by Su Qingni. Some scientists immediately wanted to slam the table and get up and leave. What the hell? They are scientists who advocate science, but they actually show them these fantasy things. What else is it to fool them? But most people still watched it patiently. They knew that Su Qingni was not talking nonsense, And the things on the PPT were probably true. Isn't there a saying that the end of science is theology? Who can guarantee that vampires are not the product of ancient earthlings using science? The leaders looked at the PPT, and their hearts were surging. Vampires are immortal. If they become vampires, wouldn't they be able to live forever? Su Qingni would never let them have such an idea and stand on the side of vampires to protect them. Afterwards, Su Qingni showed everyone a series of shortcomings of vampires, sucking human blood. This is disgusting, okay? Think about the taste of human blood. Can you really suck it? Vampires are afraid of sunlight and can only hide during the day and come out at night. You, a leader, can still play at work and sleep during the day? If you don't appear in public for a long time, will the public recognize you as a leader? There are so many things. Su Qingni listed many inconveniences after becoming a vampire, which made the leaders waver. Then, Su Qingni gave an important weight. As the world's top scientists, they can definitely study the blood and flesh of vampires to find out the secret of their longevity and make a potion that can make people live longer. Although it is possible that the potion cannot make people immortal, it can still increase their lifespan by hundreds of years. Moreover, such a potion has no side effects. People who take it will not suck human blood and will not be afraid of sunlight. Moreover, this potion is only the second generation. With the development of science and technology, scientists will develop the second generation, the third generation, potions to extend human lifespan even further. The evidence and data provided by Su Qingni are very real and correct. This is what Su Qingni spent 5 years collecting bit by bit. So what if vampires and hunters have unique abilities? They are all a group of old antiques imprisoned in their own circles, and they have no idea how far science and technology have developed. And Su Qingni has other world's advanced technology as plugins, and it is not easy to make some monitoring equipment that people can't find. Su Qingni even launched a super small satellite herself to monitor the situation in Niangniang at all times. Vampires and hunter organizations are unobstructed in Su Qingni's sight, and nothing can escape her eyes. After the meeting, scientists and leaders began to act. The top special forces from all over the world all entered Niangniang through different channels. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Niangniang did not find it. After all, they are just a Ministry of Foreign Affairs of one country. Even if they have the advantage of being a local boss, they cannot compete with the united major countries. No country has informed the top leaders of Niangniang. Who knows if the top leaders of Niangniang are puppets of vampires? Otherwise, why didn't the top leaders of Niangniang tell other countries about the existence of vampires? Chapter 767 Vampire, Darkened, 2. So, without the top leaders of Niangniang country knowing, the elites of all countries gathered in Niangniang country. Su Qingni provided these elites with the weapons she developed. These weapons were specially developed to restrain vampires. So, while the leaders of Niangniang country were still asleep, the elites of various countries surrounded the base of vampires and began to capture vampires. Vampires did not take these low-level humans seriously at all. They were noble vampires, the emperors of the Dark Night, and they had powerful abilities. Their speed was comparable to bullets. Su Qingni and the scientists laughed. A bunch of old antiques actually used the speed of handmade wooden cannons in the 1920s and 1930s to represent the bullet speed of today's weapons. Their physical fitness was strong, and the bodies of vampires above the dew could block bullets. Su Qingni and the scientists continued to laugh, saying that they should not bring out old antiques to make a fool of themselves. They could turn into bats and fly away in an instant, making it impossible for people to catch them. Su Qingni and the scientists were too lazy to laugh, and it was the turn of the special forces from all over the world to laugh. Learn about power grids, various types of sniper silos, fighter jets, and drones. They can. Everyone laughed, a group of technological illiterates who can't keep up with the trend. The elites of various countries took out the weapons specially provided by Su Qingni, and the vampires didn't even have the chance to escape, and they were all captured. The handsome men and beautiful women who were originally bright and beautiful all turned into plucked chickens, no, plucked bats, and were dejectedly locked up in cages specially customized for them by the humans they originally looked down upon, and sent to research institutes around the world. Su Qingni found that the original body's younger brother Ito Chiba had also become a vampire, so she asked for him from other scientists. Then, after the Vampire Hunter Association was breached by the elites of various countries and all the hunters were captured, Su Qingni found another younger brother of the original body, Ito Chishu. Su Qingni exchanged this younger brother from another scientist. Vampire hunters look down on ordinary people just like vampires, but they are worse than vampires. Although they have special abilities, their bodies are still ordinary people. Facing the powerful weapons of the elites of various countries, they will only die if they don't surrender. Several hunters who thought they were skilled and brave looked down on the weapons of the elites and wanted to use their own abilities to deal with the elites of various countries. The armor on the elites of various countries effectively blocked their attacks, and they used their weapons to smash these hunters into pieces. This greatly shocked the other hunters. When did ordinary people's weapons become so powerful? Such powerful weapons, even vampires can't stop them, right? Ordinary people can resist vampires with such weapons, and these vampire hunters are useless. The hunters were all scared and dared not resist the elites anymore. They did whatever they were told to do honestly, and no one dared to complain when the scientists drew blood. Fortunately, they are still human. Scientists still respect human rights for them, unlike vampires, who can slice them up whenever they want. Scientists only collected the hunters' hair and blood, and did not use them for inhumane experiments. Some hunters with low strength were released soon after, and lived an ordinary life from then on. The vampires and hunters in Nihan country were cleared out and divided up by people from other countries. No matter how stupid the high-ranking officials of Nihan country were, they would not fail to notice it. The high-ranking officials of Nihan country protested, but were united by other countries and fought back. You guys actually colluded with vampires and helped vampires to harm ordinary humans. You are simply traitors and unworthy of being human. What? You said you were coerced by vampires? Haha, are you kidding? Nihan country has police and army, all of which are controlled by you high-ranking officials. Let the army and police clear out vampires and hunters. Can vampires and hunters still withstand modern weapons? Admit it honestly. You sheltered vampires for profit. In order to be granted immortality by vampires and become vampire descendants, you betrayed the interests of all mankind. Nihan country leaders, when did we sell out the interests of all mankind? Didn't we just shield vampires? Leaders of other countries, you shielding vampires is damaging the interests of all mankind. If you had announced the vampires earlier, scientists would have already started studying vampire genes and developed drugs to increase lifespan. It's all because of you that it took so long. It's all your fault. Do you still have the nerve to protest? Nihan country leaders all cried in the toilet. How could they be so stupid? Why didn't they think of scientists using vampire genes to make drugs to increase lifespan? Now, all the vampires have been captured by scientists from other countries, leaving no one for Nihan country. And because they have offended people from other countries by concealing and shielding, scientists from other countries will most likely not provide them with drugs to increase lifespan. So, their dream of longevity is completely shattered. The toilet can no longer hold their sorrow. The leaders of other countries, holding cigarettes in their mouths, threw a little sympathy to the leaders of Nihan country, expressing international humanitarian concern. Su Qingni did not recognize the two boys from Ito's family. She put the two boys in the same house, and the two brothers who had not seen each other for a long time started fighting as soon as they met. It was not because of their different positions as a vampire and a vampire hunter, but because of a girl. Damn. Su Qingni understood that the two boys from Ito's family must be the male protagonists of a bloody fantasy novel, and the two brothers were fighting for the same woman. And the identity of the heroine was also unusual. This heroine was a hybrid of vampire and human. The heroine's mother was a beautiful girl who was gentle, kind, pure and beautiful, 10,000 words omitted here, just like her. Her father was the prince of vampires, and the two fell in love. Their love was so beautiful. This is what the girl said herself, but because of their different positions, they were opposed by the vampires and hunters. Because the heroine's mother was the daughter of the president of the Hunters Guild, the heroine's mother did not have the ability of a hunter, but her father and brother were very powerful hunters who could tie with the vampire duke. Because of the joint obstruction of the Hunter Guild president and the vampire elders, the heroine's parents had to separate. The heroine's father was forced to fall into deep sleep, and her mother died in grief after giving birth to the heroine. Chapter 768 Vampire, Darkened, 3. The heroine was born with her vampire blood sealed in her body by her grandfather and uncle, and she grew up like an ordinary girl. Chihiro and the heroine are childhood sweethearts. When the Ito family got into trouble, Chihiro was adopted by the heroine's uncle. Chihiro and the heroine's feelings came naturally. Just when Chihiro thought that she would get engaged and then married with a heroine, the heroine met Chiba Ito. Chiba Ito fell in love with a heroine who was so beautiful and so different. The heroine also had a great interest in this boy who looked very similar to Chihiro, but was more handsome and had a completely different personality. The genetic beautification of the vampire made Chiba Ito's appearance more optimized than Chihiro. The heroine likes both the older brother and the younger brother, and doesn't know how to choose. Chiba Ito has the predatory nature of a vampire and simply snatched the heroine away. The heroine was found to have her sealed vampire blood in the vampire's territory. The heroine's father woke up and helped the heroine to remove the seal. He also used the blood connection between the two to completely turn the heroine into a vampire. When the heroine was still a human, she was more inclined to the vampire Ito Chiba. Now that she has become a vampire, her emotions have begun to lean towards Ito Chiki. There is no way, the heroine likes excitement and the so-called forbidden love. Her performance made the two brothers of the Ito family think that the heroine loved her the most, and the fight became more intense. Every time they met, they beat each other to death, determined to kill each other and become the heroine's only one. The two people had originally decided to have a life and death duel, with one person dying as the ending, and the one who survived would own the heroine. As a result, on the night before the absolute, the elites of various countries raided the vampire's territory and the hunter's territory and captured them all. They thought there would be no more duels, but they didn't expect that they would be sent to the hands of the same scientist and assigned to live together. The rivals were extremely jealous when they met, and both of them didn't care about their own situation. They immediately clenched their fists and hit each other, determined to kill each other. Su Qingni pressed a button, and hypnotic gas was sprayed out of the air vents in the room. The concentration was more than 10 times higher than what ordinary people could bear, so the two extraordinary people fell asleep before they could hold on for long. Su Qingni ignored them. She was more interested in the heroine now. A being that perfectly blended human blood and vampire blood, but a better test subject. Su Qingni immediately checked who had the heroine. What made her happy was that the heroine was in her hands. What a fate. Even God was helping her. God, asshole. Su Qingni immediately took the heroine to the laboratory and asked her to cooperate in the experiment. Su Qingni, don't worry, I won't slice you up. I just need you to provide some flesh and blood, and I need you to help test the medicine. The heroine screamed, you are a demon. You are a devil. Su Qingni, don't describe me as a fictitious existence, I am a scientist. We are the inheritors of science, and we use science to find the truth. You should feel honored that you have made a contribution to science. The heroine, no. I don't want to make such a contribution. Su Qingni knocked the heroine unconscious, noisy. It would be great if she could be studied quietly like this. Su Qingni extracted genes and useful substances from the heroine's blood, and indeed made medicine that can improve people's lifespan and physical fitness one step earlier than other scientists, and began to promote it. Since then, scientists from various countries have extracted a lot of unique energy and substances from vampires and hunters, and applied these energy and materials to other fields, and the Earth's technology has entered an era of vigorous development. Su Qingni took away all the special materials in the heroine's blood, and the heroine became an ordinary woman. Su Qingni let her live with other vampires and hunters who were released and turned into ordinary people. Su Qingni also turned the two younger brothers of the Ito family into ordinary people, and then eliminated their memories and feelings for the heroine, and put them in a city where ordinary humans live, away from a drama living points specially planned by various countries for vampires and hunters. After that, Su Qingni no longer cared about the two. Even if the two of them met the heroine again because of fate and got involved with a heroine, and the brothers turned against each other for a woman, she would not care. She has done enough to live up to the blood relationship between this body and the two brothers of the Ito family. You know, if she didn't intervene and didn't kill all the vampires and hunters in one pot, one of the two brothers of the Ito family would die in the life and death duel. Although the remaining one got the beauty and was happy for a while, who knows if he would feel guilty for killing his own brother and live in pain for a lifetime after a long time. Now they are ordinary people. Even if they like the heroine at the same time, it is impossible to have a shitty life and death duel. Ordinary people must abide by the law, and if they counterattack, prison is waiting for them. In this way, the lives of the two people were saved. Perhaps the hero and heroine have become ordinary people, and the fate between them has disappeared. The Ito brothers never saw the heroine again. Later, they each found a wife, gave birth to children, and lived an ordinary and stable life. Without the heroine standing between them, the brotherhood between the two brothers was not destroyed, and it was pretty good. They supported each other and made the Ito family gradually prosperous. As for the heroine, without the glory of the heroine, those beautiful adjectives with tens of thousands of words could not fall on her. The heroine became more ordinary and ordinary than the Ito brothers. Her face was originally a delicate one, not a beauty. There are too many women like this. Compared with other women, she really has no advantages, and not many men admire her. However, the heroine has a high vision. When she meets a man, she will compare him with the Ito brothers, which makes the men have no good impression of her. They satirize her to look in the mirror and see what she is before picking on others. In the end, the heroine did not get married, no one wanted her, and the heroine was lonely for a lifetime. In the second half of her life, the heroine had a very bad life. Who told her that she had no other skills except the so-called kindness, and could only make a living by picking up garbage? 100 years later, the Earth's population reached a very large number due to the increase in life expectancy, and the Earth was almost out of place for humans. Fortunately, science and technology have developed rapidly in recent years, and the technology of human beings to develop into the starry sky has also improved a lot. Human beings can now develop into outer space. The plan of migrating to Mars and the Moon has been launched. Human beings have entered space and started a new era. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 769, The Maid's Turn. After venting in one world, Su Qingni felt better. Although she was still a little depressed, at least she could adjust herself automatically. After returning to the Lich world to recuperate, Su Qingni entered a new world. After a few days in this world, Su Qingni found that this world should be a world of house fighting and palace fighting. When she just possessed the body, the original owner of this body was being beaten with a stick. Fortunately, the original owner of the body had a good foundation and withstood the beating and did not die. This means that Su Qingni can only stay in the same body with the soul of the original owner, just like in the previous worlds, and then she pretends to be a portable grandfather or fairy sister. King Shu is a second-class maidservant beside Kei Yuwen, the eldest lady of the Kei mansion. She is smart and steady, and is highly valued by Kei Yuwen. She is only young, so she is a second-class maidservant. When she is older, Kei Yuwen will promote her to the first class and become her personal maidservant. This time, King Shu was beaten with a stick because of Kei Yuwen. Kei Yuio, the second daughter of the Kei mansion, framed Kei Yuwen. Kei Yuwen was accidentally fooled and almost ruined her reputation. King Shu stood up to take the blame and saved Kei Yuwen's reputation. Kei Yuwen's biological mother is the head lady of the Kei mansion. She knows that King Shu took the blame for her daughter. Although King Shu is punished with caning on the surface, her confidant had already told the person who is punishing her to be gentle. Otherwise, even if King Shu is in good health, she was still young after all. Although she would not die after being caned for 20 times, she would not be able to get up for at least a few months. Although King Shu was injured now, she only looked miserable on the outside. She was not hurt at all. She would be completely healed in a dozen days. At night, King Shu saw a beautiful fairy sister in her dream. Fairy sister Su Qingni said that she could let King Shu leave the Kei mansion and become a rich free man, no longer a slave, and her life would no longer be controlled by others. King Shu thought about it and made a request. Fairy sister, can I continue to stay in the Kei mansion after regaining my freedom? Although she was young, she knew the importance of freedom. If she lost her freedom and became someone else's slave, she would lose her life. It was up to the master to take the life of the servant. When the servant died, at most a mat would be rolled out. If the person handling the funeral was kind, he would dig a pit and bury the body hastily, and the body would rest in peace. If the person handling the funeral was impatient, he might just throw the body into a mass grave. King Shu didn't want to lose her freedom, but she had no choice. Her parents died early, and she was still young. She was sold by her own uncle for money, and she couldn't resist. But she had a plan in mind. The treatment of being a maid next to the eldest lady was very good. In addition to the fixed monthly salary, the eldest lady would often reward her with some jewelry, and she could also get rewards for running errands in other places in the mansion. Save these silver, money and jewelry, And when she grows up and the eldest lady doesn't need her to serve, she will redeem herself, leave the mansion as a free person, and find an honest husband to live a poor but simple life, without the intrigue and fear in the mansion. This is Qingshu's plan. Now someone has ruined her plan, so she can leave K's mansion earlier. To be honest, Qingshu is very happy. But this child is indeed smarter than ordinary people and thinks more. She is still young now. What can she do after leaving the mansion? How can she support herself? She can't even get married. She is an orphan girl without a backer, and in the eyes of many people, she is a piece of fat meat. I'm afraid that she will fall into the hands of human traffickers and be sold again soon after she leaves the mansion. The terrible thing is that she may be sold to the female branch courtyard. Or, she was directly killed by someone for money. Life in K's mansion is at least more stable. As long as you're careful and don't get involved in the fight in the backyard, you can still keep your life and grow up safely. Why? Qingshu replied, I can't bear to leave the eldest lady. She treats me very well. Su Qingni laughed, I am a fairy. Qingshu immediately explained her thoughts. Su Qingni nodded when she heard it. It was true that she had not considered it carefully before. Well, don't redeem yourself first. You will continue to stay in the K mansion until you grow up and have the ability to protect yourself. Su Qingni said, I will teach you how to protect yourself. Qingshu's eyes lit up when she heard it, and she knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Su Qingni 9 times. Su Qingni waved her sleeves, and a gust of wind blew past, and Qingshu stood up from the ground involuntarily. Qingshu sighed, worthy of being a fairy. This is magic, right? Can I learn it myself? Qingshu asked this question. Su Qingni replied, no, there is no spiritual energy in the world you are in, you can't cultivate immortals, and you can't cast spells. Qingshu was very disappointed when she heard it, but Su Qingni's next sentence made her eyes light up again. I can teach you martial arts, not the kind of external martial arts that you think will make you big and strong after practicing, but the internal martial arts that can beautify and shape your body. After learning this kind of martial arts, you can also perform light skills to fly over eaves and walls, jump to the roof, and walk on it as if it were flat ground. Qingshu immediately nodded repeatedly, please teach me martial arts, fairy sister. Su Qingni, before learning martial arts, you must first learn to recognize words and learn to read. Why do you have to learn to read to learn martial arts? Qingshu just felt a headache. If you don't read, you can't even understand the secrets of internal skills. Qingshu made a bitter face and began to learn to recognize words with Su Qingni, learn the 300,000, and learn the Book of Changes. The little girl was very smart and could recognize some words. Su Qingni didn't have to teach her from the beginning, and the teaching progress was not slow. Su Qingni also taught the little girl medical knowledge. In the inner house, knowing medical skills is one of the means to save your life. After the little girl memorized the human meridian map, Su Qingni taught the little girl to learn internal skills. 3 years passed in a blink of an eye, and the little girl's martial arts skills had improved slightly. Among them, the best ones she learned were Qingguang and the art of throwing needles with one hand. Su Qingni felt that the little girl had the potential to be wrong mama. After the little girl was able to jump around on the roof without being discovered, she decided to verify what she had learned this year. The test subject was Kuio, the second lady of the K mansion. It was the one who framed Kuiwen and caused the little girl to be beaten with a stick. In the past 3 years, Kuio was not quiet and set traps for Kuwen many times. Thanks to the reminder of the fairy sister, Kuwen avoided these traps. Because Qingshu always helped Kuwen avoid the trap, Kuio was very disgusted and afraid of Qingshu, and wanted to get rid of Qingshu and made things difficult for Qingshu. Fortunately, Kuwen was also a smart person and tried her best to protect Qingshu, so that Qingshu is not harmed by Kuio. Qingshu hated Kuio very much. She just couldn't understand how Kuio, a lady from a noble family, could be so vicious and have so many unimaginable means. Chapter 770 The Maid's Turn. Kuio is a teenage girl in the harem, and she should have little experience. How could she know so many dirty tricks? Her own mother couldn't know as much as she did. If Kuio's aunt had so many tricks, she would have defeated the head lady of the K mansion long ago. How could she have fallen to the point where she was no longer favored by the head of the family and almost became a decoration? Qingshu couldn't figure it out, so she asked the fairy sister who she thought knew everything. The fairy sister naturally knew that Su Qingni had seen Kuio, And this girl was reborn. Su Qingni had entered Kuiao's dream and knew her experience before her rebirth. This world is indeed based on palace fighting. Kuian and Kuiao both entered the palace. Kuan is the queen, and Kuiao climbed onto the dragon bed of the emperor's brother-in-law by dishonorable means. The two sisters started fighting when they were still in their natal family, and they fought all the way to the prince's mansion and the palace. Kuiao learned all her tricks in the harem. Kuan died under her means, but she didn't feel proud for long. Her murder of the queen was exposed, and she was stripped of all her identities by the emperor and given a cup of poison wine. The winner of the entire harem struggle was neither Kuiao nor Kuan, but a woman who was born as a palace maid. That woman is the protagonist of this palace fight script and the winner of the harem struggle. Kuiao and Kuan are just bosses to be eliminated in the process of upgrading. They are just female supporting roles. Su Qingni picked out some of Kuiao's past life and Qingshu was shocked. Rebirth. Such a magical thing actually happened. But thinking that she could meet the fairy sister, it was not surprising for others to be reborn. I heard that she was killed by Kuiao in her previous life, and Kuiao was also persecuted in this life. Qingshu hated Kuiao very much. Since this Kuiao is not an ignorant girl, but a reborn sinful soul with blood on her hands, she will not feel embarrassed to take revenge on Kuiao. Qingshu used her King to come to Kuiao's yard and sneaked into Kuiao's room. Seeing Kuiao sleeping soundly, Qingshu snorted. She knew Kuiao's dream in this life, which was to kill Kuan before she became the princess, and replace Kuan as the prince's wife. Then go to the palace to get rid of the maid first, let her son ascend the throne, and become the queen mother, becoming the big winner. Qingshu couldn't help but complain. Kuiao is just a concubine of the K mansion, how could she be qualified to become the prince's wife? If Miss Kuan really died, the royal family would only choose the daughters of other big families with noble status as the prince's wife. And if the women of other families became the prince's wife, how could she have the opportunity to enter the prince's mansion? You must know that in her previous life, she entered the prince's mansion under the opportunity of visiting her pregnant sister, and then used her means to climb onto the prince's bed. It's just stupid. Qingshu said disdainfully. With Su Qingni's teaching, Qingshu's vision and experience are incomparable to Kuiao, and even Kuan can't compare with her. Qingshu looks at the problem more comprehensively and more clearly. She took out a porcelain bottle from her arms, opened the lid, poured out a pill inside, pried open Kuiao's mouth, and fed it into her mouth. Thank me. Qingshu said softly, you took my life in your previous life, but I won't take your life. I will let you live 100 years. You can't enter the palace, so you won't die early in the harem struggle. But Kuiao will never marry again in this life. This is the most severe and painful punishment for an ancient woman. After doing all this, Qingshu returned to Kuan's courtyard, returned to the bed in her room, closed her eyes, and went to sleep to find the fairy sister to learn skills. The next day, everyone in the K mansion was awakened by a shrill scream. For a period of time afterwards, many doctors came in and out of the K mansion, and even the imperial doctors were invited by the K family. But no one had a solution for the red bumps all over Kuiao's body. Some doctors even suspected that the red bumps were contagious. The head lady of the K mansion immediately had Kuiao moved out of the K mansion and sent her to the farm to recuperate. She was not allowed to return to the K mansion until she recovered from her illness. Although Lord K liked Kuiao the most among his many daughters because she was smart, sweet and good at pleasing him, when it came to his own safety, the father-daughter relationship was put aside. He agreed very much with Mrs. K's decision and even urged the housekeeper to send her away quickly. Kuiao didn't want to leave the K mansion, but what could she do? Even if she asked someone to beg Lord K, it would be useless. Kuiao could only reluctantly leave the K mansion and the capital. Looking at the towering towers of the capital, Kuiao gritted her teeth and said, "Wait, I will be back. When I come back, I will definitely be the best. I will make you pay the price for bullying me." She didn't know that she would never come back after leaving. She will have a face full of red pimples all her life until she dies, and no one is willing to marry her. After Kuiao left, Kuan and Qingshu's lives became much better. Without someone scheming and causing trouble every day, the two felt extremely relaxed. However, Kuiao's operations over the years have been effective. At least Kuan's house fighting skills are almost at the maximum level. Kuyuan has seen the methods used by Kuyao. When she enters the prince's mansion and the palace in the future, she will be able to easily resolve the same methods. After half a year of ease, Kuyuan got married, just like Kuyao married a prince in her previous life. King Shu was still somewhat interested in the two copies of the prince's mansion and the palace, so she changed the map with Kuyuan. Now King Shu is already a big girl next to Kuyuan. Because they experienced Kuyuao's frame up together, Kuyuan trusts King Shu very much. Even if King Shu wants to leave now, Kuyuan will never let King Shu leave. On the eve of Kuyuan's wedding, her younger brother Su Qingni, who had been paying respects to her grandparents on behalf of her parents in Jiangnan, came back. The K family has 5 young masters. The eldest, second and fifth young masters are from the same mother as Kuyuan, and the third and fourth young masters are illegitimate. Lord K's parents are living in their hometown in Jiangnan, and they feel that it is too lonely for only 2 of them, so they want to keep a grandson by their side. Lord K left his youngest son with his parents, and although Mrs. K was reluctant to part with her youngest son, she let him go with 2 older sons by her side. This was the first time King Shu had seen Su Qingni since she entered the K mansion, and she couldn't help but secretly praise him in her heart. This 5th young master is worthy of growing up in Jiangnan. His temperament is as beautiful as ink in painting, pure and elegant, like a banished immortal, and he has surpassed many young masters in the capital. Su Qingni was also amazed. No wonder King Shu did all the bad things for this 5th young master in her previous life. Chapter 771 The Maid's Turn. Su Qingni did not tell King Shu about the past life about King Shu and the 5th young master, so as to prevent the little girl from being affected by the past life experience. In the past life, the little girl fell in love with Su Qingni at first sight and fell in love with him again. But she knew that she was of low status and was just a maid, so she did not dare to hope to be with Su Qingni. Who knew that Su Qingni actually fell in love with another maid and wanted to marry that maid as his wife? For this reason, he rejected other noble ladies. The maid was very uneducated and unruly. She kept shouting that servants also had human rights. Relying on Su Qingni's love for her, she looked down on Mrs. K and other women in the K family. This was the impression of King Shu and other women in the past life. However, she had many strange ideas in her head, which made people feel novel and interesting. She had unparalleled talent, and she wrote poems and lyrics casually, which made the great scholars praise her. She was very individual, bright and flamboyant, and proud. This was the view of Su Qingni and other men on maids. Su Qingni in fact, this is a time-traveling woman. This time-traveling girl has an older sister, who is the winner of the final battle in the palace. These 2 sisters should be the protagonists. The palace maids also learned various ideas provided by the time-traveling girl, allowing her to attract the emperor's attention and love in the palace. With the support of the palace maids, the time-traveling girl can seduce outstanding men more wantonly outside the palace and despise the ladies who abide by etiquette. Because Su Qingni fell in love with a maid, King Shu's heart began to become active. Why are they all maids? Why would that person be loved by the 5th young master and want to marry him as a wife? Why can't she marry the 5th young master? Even if she is the concubine of the 5th young master, she is willing. The appearance of the time-traveling girl aroused King Shu's thoughts that she dared not think about. As the most trusted maid around Kuyuan, King Shu easily got to Su Qingni's side through Kuyuan's hand and became Su Qingni's concubine. Su Qingni had to accept King Shu, and the condition was that the time-traveling girl would be his wife. The K family and Kuyuan had no choice but to agree to let the time-traveling girl in. King Shu was jealous of the time-traveling girl, especially after Su Qingni said that the time-traveling girl didn't touch King Shu at all. King Shu turned evil and began to target the time-traveling girl in various ways. However, how could she possibly defeat the time-traveling girl with the aura of the heroine? No matter how carefully she planned, no matter how vicious her methods were, she always made mistakes when she met the heroine. Not only did she not harm the time-traveling girl, but she also let her suffer the consequences. In her previous life, King Shu died with the title of a vicious female supporting role. In this life, after Su Qingni learned about King Shu's original fate from Kuyao, she began to teach her the truth that women should be self-reliant and not lose themselves for men. There are many good men in the world, don't hang yourself on a tree, etc. And also painted a big pie for King Shu, that in the future, King Shu can travel all over the world and see all the handsome men in the world. Therefore, Although Qingxu in this life admired Su Qingni very much and had a good impression of him, she did not fall in love at first sight like in her previous life, and did not have a love between men and women, but just pure appreciation. In this life, Su Qingni has a good impression of Qingxu, but it is not a love between a man and a woman. Su Qingni has a good appearance and is an excellent person. Almost all girls who have seen him admire him, and their eyes are so hot that they want to take off his clothes. Qingxu is different from other women. There is appreciation in her eyes, which is an appreciation of beautiful things, without any desire between men and women. This makes Su Qingni more willing to get close to Qingxu, at least he can relax around Qingxu. Qingxu married into the prince's mansion with Su Yuwen. There are already many concubines in the mansion. Soon, the prince's mansion will have 2 concubines. Qingxu sympathizes with Su Yuwen, and is glad that she is not a noble lady, and she is not free in marriage, and she has to compete with so many women for her husband. Her future husband can only have her as a woman, just like the fairy sister said, she wants to be with her husband for life and a pair. If her husband dares to find other women, she will break the man's 3rd leg and see if he will love other women. Exclamation mark. On the 2nd day after the wedding, the concubines in the mansion came to pay their respects to the princess. There were more than 10 concubines in total, all of whom were beautiful and rare, which made Su Yuwen very upset. However, Su Yuwen's key cultivation skills were good, and her anger could not be seen from her appearance. She looked gentle and kind, and gently spoke to the concubines, and asked another big maid Zhu Yao beside her to reward the concubines with the prepared gifts. Su Yuwen's performance made the prince very satisfied. As his wife, she should be generous. As expected of a lady from a noble family, the rules of etiquette are indeed the best. In this way, he can safely hand over the backyard to the princess. Of course, even so, he will still let people observe secretly for a while. It would be better if the princess was as generous as she showed. If the princess is two-faced, the housekeeper power of the backyard should be handed over to the right person. After the prince finished a cup of tea, he told Su Yuwen something and left the main courtyard with satisfaction. Princess, don't be angry. Qingxu brought a cup of tea at a moderate temperature and handed it to Su Yuwen. I'm not angry, I'm not angry. Su Yuwen kept muttering in her mouth. After a while, Su Yuwen let out a long breath and drank the tea in the cup. Mother is right, men are not trustworthy. Su Yuwen said, the most important thing for a woman is status and sons, nothing else. The so-called husband is just a tool that can be used. Su Yuwen's expression was gentle, but her words were extremely cold. Men, they are all lustful. My father is like this, and my good husband is naturally like this. He is a member of the royal family. The emperor has 3 palaces, 6 courtyards and 72 concubines. As a prince, he will not have too many fewer. Su Yuwen sneered, I had a little expectation of him after the wedding night, but today he slapped my face. Good dreams only last one night. The room was full of Su Yuwen's confidants. Several of them lowered their heads, listening to Su Yuwen's words with one ear and letting them out with the other, and did not listen to and remember Su Yuwen's words at all. It is impossible. Su Yuwen vented her anger, sighed deeply, and called out, Qingxu. Princess, Qingxu replied. Su Yuwen said, prescribe me a medicine that can nourish my body and make it reach the best pregnancy effect. I want to have a baby as soon as possible. Yes, Qingxu replied. After Qingxu learned medicine from Su Qingni, she pretended to be interested in medicine in front of Su Yuwen. Su Yuwen thought that it would be much more convenient to have a maid who knew medicine around her in the future, and her own safety would also be guaranteed, so she reported to Madame K and asked Qingxu to learn medicine from the doctor of the K mansion. Chapter 772, The Maid's Turn. It was because Qingxu had learned medical skills that Su Yuwen failed to drug Su Yuwen. Qingxu's image of excellent medical skills has penetrated into the hearts of Su Yuwen and the maids around her. Of course, other people don't know. Qingxu's medical skills are one of Su Yuwen's trump cards. After hearing Su Yuwen's order, Qingxu immediately agreed and began to think about how to prepare the medicine to best exert the medicinal properties, so that Su Yuwen can get pregnant as soon as possible without hurting Su Yuwen's body. Qingxu. Su Yuwen spoke again, her tone was faint. Can you prepare a sterilization medicine that even the most brilliant imperial physician can't find? Qingxu knelt down on the ground. Princess, although Qingxu has learned medical skills for several years, she is proud that she can compare with the imperial physician and can't prepare the medicine that the princess wants. With her real medical skills, what medicine can't she prepare? She is the apprentice of the fairy. But the fairy sister taught her to hide her shortcomings from the beginning. Therefore, the medical skills she showed were only 1/3 of her real level, and her martial arts were never revealed. Moreover, even if she is good at medicine, she will not prepare sterilization drugs, which are harmful to the world. She can prepare drugs that disfigure Kuiao, but this drug will not harm Kuiao's life, and Kuiao herself has a grudge against her, so she will not bear the consequences. But sterilization drugs, which make women unable to be mothers, must not be made. The consequences will be serious. There are gods in this world, so there must be places like the underworld and the 18 levels of hell. She admits that she is not an absolutely good person, and sometimes she will do whatever it takes to achieve her goals, but she will never take the initiative to harm others. Get up, I didn't think you could make it. Kuiao called Qingshu up. She was just asking. Kuiao didn't believe that Qingshu's medical skills were better than those of the imperial doctors. And she would never do anything she was not sure of. If the imperial doctors found out that the women in the palace were given sterilization drugs, she, the princess, would be questioned. Kuiao stroked her belly with her right hand and sighed, "What if my belly doesn't work out and I give birth to a daughter while other women give birth to sons?" Zuyao hurriedly comforted Kuiao, "Princess, you will definitely be able to give birth to a little prince first." Kuiao chuckled twice, "How can you be sure of such a thing? What if I give birth to a daughter first?" Zuyao hurriedly said, "Princess is still so young, she will definitely be able to give birth to a little prince." Kuiao sighed, "Even if I give birth to a son, so what? Other women also have sons, and that will be a threat to my son." Zuyao said, "The little prince is a legitimate son." Kuiao said dimly, "The royal family is the most unruly place. In history, are there many emperors who were emperors because of illegitimate sons?" Zuyao was speechless and didn't know how to persuade Kuiao. Qingshu spoke up at this time, "Princess, if other women give birth to daughters, the position of the young prince will be secure." Kuiao looked at Qingshu suddenly and asked, "Do you have a way to make other women give birth to daughters?" "I'm not sure, I can only try." Qingshu said, "I have read an ancient book, which says that a woman's pregnancy has a certain relationship with her constitution. If a woman's constitution is acidic, the chance of having a daughter will increase." "Acidic constitution? Does it mean that women should eat more sour food?" Kuiao asked. "Isn't it said that sour boys and spicy girls?" Zuyao was surprised. "Wouldn't eating more sour food increase the chance of having a boy?" Qingshu said, "That's after pregnancy. Before pregnancy, women eat more acidic foods, and there is a high probability of having a daughter." "What are acidic foods?" Kuiao asked. Qingshu replied, "Egg yolk, cakes made with sugar, mullet roe, bonito, etc. are the most acidic, and chicken, pork, eel, beef, horse meat, etc. are slightly weaker. Oh, and eating more soy products, kelp and shrimp skin and other foods will also increase the chance of women having daughters." Kuiao listened carefully and asked Zuyao to write down these foods. Qingshu stopped talking and Zuyao also put down his pen. Kuiao smiled and said, "Although I don't know if these are useful, I can try them." "If they are useful, Qingshu, you are a great contributor." As a princess, her virtuous and generous personality cannot be overturned. If other women in the palace have not given birth, others will definitely question her fake virtue. But if other women in the palace have given birth, but they can only give birth to daughters, it is none of her business. It can only be said that those women are unlucky and can't give birth to sons. I dare not take credit. Qingshu bowed her head and said humbly. Now she is still making a living under Kuiao. She must be honest, and frivolous and self-righteous will not get good results. Kuiao was very satisfied with Qingshu's attitude. She turned to Zuyao and said, "In the future, tell the kitchen to prepare meals for the women in the mansion according to the food on this list." "Yes." Zuyao accepted the order. After that, the other women in the palace ate the food specially prepared by Kuiao for them. There was a small kitchen in Kuiao's yard, and the small kitchen would not touch the food. After Kuiao was treated with Qingshu's medicine, she soon became pregnant. At the same time, there were 2 other concubines in the mansion who were pregnant. These concubines were anxious. The princess had already entered the mansion, and soon the 2 concubines would also enter the mansion. The princess looked virtuous and generous, but who knew what the concubines would be like? They had to get pregnant quickly so that their lives in the mansion would be guaranteed in the future. Therefore, In the past few months, these concubines used various means to seduce the prince, and the prince's mansion was very lively. Kayuan, the princess, only had a few days a month to rest with the prince. Kayuan had already found out that the prince loved a concubine the most. She was his childhood sweetheart, but because of her low status, she could only be the prince's concubine. The prince had promised the concubine that as long as she gave birth to a son, he would make her a concubine. Therefore, during this period, the concubine stayed with the prince the longest and tried very hard to have a baby. Unfortunately, she didn't have this luck. The other two concubines were pregnant, and Kayuan was also pregnant, but this woman didn't make any movement. Then one day, the subordinates reported to Kayuan that a concubine named Su Qingni asked the maid to bring back a packet of medicine from outside the mansion. Medicine. Kayuan raised her eyebrows and looked at Qingshu. Qingshu walked out of the room with understanding. Kayuan's housekeeper means are very powerful. After only 2 or 3 months in the mansion, she is about to take control of the backyard of the prince's mansion. Of course, this is also because the prince observed Kayuan and felt that she was really virtuous and generous and would not hurt his other women before letting her go. Therefore, Qingshu easily got Su Qingni's medicine residue. Chapter 773 The Maid's Turn. Qingshu determined the properties of the medicine from the dregs and reported to Kayuan. This kind of fertility medicine works well. Women have a high chance of getting pregnant after taking it. But it is very harmful to the mother. Qingshu said, if Su really gets pregnant and gives birth to this baby, her body will be seriously damaged in the future and she will not get pregnant again. Kayuan chuckled and said, she already has a child, and she still wants more. Ziyao nodded in agreement. Kayuan put away her smile and asked Qingshu, will this fertility medicine affect the acidity and alkalinity of the mother that you mentioned, so that Su can give birth to a child? No. Qingshu said affirmatively. Kayuan was relieved. Another 2 hours passed, and Kayuan had already taken a stable pregnancy. Qingshu also helped her find out the gender of the baby in her belly. It was indeed a boy. This made Kayuan very happy, as if she had taken a reassurance pill. Kayuan found an excuse to call the gathering in the mansion together to enjoy the flowers and play. Qingshu found an opportunity to approach the 2 pregnant concubines, pretending to support them and feel their pulses. Su Qingni returned to Kayuan and blinked at her. The arc of Kayuan's mouth suddenly increased several degrees. The princess looks in a good mood. A concubine wanted to curry favor with Kayuan and found a way to get close to her. Kayuan accepted the goodwill of the concubine named Zhang and smiled slightly. I am really happy to see the sisters get along so harmoniously. Zhang said nicely, this is all because the princess is kind and generous, and she is very good to each of us. Yes, the princess is not like the other wives in other mansions who suppress concubines. Li, who took over the conversation, praised Kayuan, but it sounded wrong. Kayuan glanced at Li and said nothing. This Li was one of the 2 pregnant women. Relying on her pregnancy, this woman became more and more arrogant, and sometimes she didn't even give face to this princess. She was too lazy to bother with such a fool. Wait until Li gives birth to a daughter, and see if she is still arrogant. Li smiled arrogantly and proudly. When she gave birth to a son, she would make sure that the prince would give her a higher position. It would be great if the princess in Song gave birth to daughters and she gave birth to a son. Then her son would be the prince's eldest son. If the prince ascended the throne in the future, her son would have a greater chance to grab that position. Li seemed to have seen the scene of her son ascending the throne and herself becoming the most noble woman in the world. She almost couldn't help laughing out loud. Suddenly, a dry retching sound interrupted Li's continuation of why. She looked at Su Qingni, who was sitting opposite her, with a dark face. She saw Su Qingni holding the table and retching. She was pregnant, so how could she not know what retching meant? Li's face suddenly turned dark. Although the faces of the other women were not as dark as Li's, they were also ugly. Originally, Su Qingni was the most favored by the prince. Now she was pregnant. After giving birth to the child, wouldn't she be more valued and loved by the prince? Damn it! Why weren't they pregnant? Among all the women, only Kayuan remained calm and told the servants with a smile, Sister Su looks pregnant. Hurry up and ask the court doctor to diagnose her. The maid next to Su Qingni was very surprised. She immediately bowed to Kayuan and ran away quickly. The women present had different expressions, but none of them stood up and left. They all wanted to wait for the court doctor's diagnosis. The maid quickly invited the court doctor over. The court doctor first bowed to Kuyun, and then bowed to the other women. Kuyun said, "Dr. Zhang, please feel Sister Su's pulse to see if she is pregnant." Dr. Zhang looked at Su Qingni and saw her happy face, and he was sure in his heart. I think the princess and this concubine Su are already sure, and they just let him come to confirm it. Dr. Zhang felt Su Qingni's pulse, and sure enough, Su Qingni was pregnant. After getting the confirmation, the faces of the other women changed, and they all said goodbye. Kuyun did not try to keep them, but she knew that these women were going back to find a way. As for whether they wanted to follow Su Qingni's example and take medicine to get pregnant or find a way to get rid of the baby in Su Qingni's belly, Kuyun didn't care. She was a pregnant woman now, and she was not energetic enough to take care of too many things. Even if there was any negligence, the prince could not blame her. Kuyun returned to her own courtyard with a smile. As soon as she arrived at the courtyard, she asked someone to report the good news to the prince, and she went to bed early on the grounds that she was too tired. The prince was naturally very happy to hear the news that his beloved woman was pregnant. When he heard that the princess needed to rest because she was too tired, the prince was very considerate and asked someone to send medicinal materials to Kuyun and sent his verbal care. The prince was really very satisfied with his princess. After marrying him, not only was she very capable in managing the household affairs and the entire backyard of the palace very well, but she was also generous and not jealous, and did not embarrass other women in the backyard, and treated them equally. Moreover, the princess was very lucky. She got pregnant just after marrying him, and the other women in the backyard also had children. You know, these women have been with him for 3 years at most, but none of them got pregnant. Could it be that his wife is a lucky star? Is she specially good for him? Look at his own backyard, and then look at his brother's backyard. The prince felt very satisfied. Kuyun stayed in her own yard every day except for the daily management of the palace affairs. She claimed to the outside world that she was not energetic because of pregnancy and needed to rest well, but in fact, she was looking at the various traps of the women in the palace. The women who were not pregnant wanted to target the 3 pregnant people. They wanted to deal with the princess, but the princess was in charge of the entire palace, and the defense of her own courtyard was tighter, so they couldn't reach the princess at all. If they did, it would probably be a trap. Women are not stupid, and they won't be stupid enough to jump into the well. And this princess is really pregnant, and it is not too difficult to live under her, so it is better not to provoke her. Otherwise, such a good life will be gone. After confirming that the gender of the children in Liansong's wombs was female, Kuyun sent people to secretly protect the 2. She wanted to protect the children of these 2 people. It was impossible that except for the child in her belly who could be born safely, the children of the other 3 people would be lost in the fight in the backyard. Even if it was not her handiwork, but done by other women, the prince would have a grudge against her and distrust her. At that time, how could she manage the palace? How could she improve the prince's favorability with her son? Therefore, only one of the actions of the women in the backyard against the 3 pregnant women was successful. Although Su Qingni had means and her own people in the palace, otherwise she would not buy fertility drugs from outside, she still could not stop the calculations one after another. Chapter 774, The Maid's Turn. Su Qingni had a miscarriage in the 5th month of her pregnancy, which hurt her body and made it difficult for her to get pregnant again. Su Qingni cried in the prince's arms and begged him to make the decision for her. The prince asked his men to investigate and found that in addition to the 3 pregnant women, other women in the backyard had also made a move. The law does not punish everyone. If there were only 1 or 2, the prince would definitely punish them severely to avenge his concubine and the lost child. But with so many people, it would not have a good impact if they were severely punished. You know, among them are the 2 concubines he just got married. The 2 concubines' families are powerful. If he punishes the 2 concubines, he will offend their families. In the end, the prince only perfunctorily punished those women by confining them to copy scriptures for their unborn children, and let the matter pass. Su Qingni was unwilling to accept this. The blow of losing her child made her lose her mind. She even pointed the spearhead at Kuyun and slandered Kuyun in the prince's ear. The palace is managed by the princess. I don't believe that the princess doesn't know what those people did. The princess may have used other women to get rid of the baby in my belly so as to protect the status of her child. Nonsense. The prince is not a stupid monarch and will not listen to Su Qingni's slander. He dotes on his concubines, but he also respects his wife. Moreover, Kuyuan's superficial work is very good. The prince has not found anything wrong with Kuyuan at all, and he respects this wife more in his heart. Moreover, Kuyuan is pregnant. These days, she has not been energetic. Some things are divided among the two concubines. How can she know what other women are doing secretly? Su Qingni is simply trying to get close to the princess. She has lost her own child, and she also wants the princess to have a hard time because she suspects and punishes the princess, which may cause the princess to miscarry. After so many years, I didn't see clearly that Su Qingni is such a vicious person. No wonder the other women in the backyard unanimously want to get rid of the baby in her belly. Why don't they take action against the princess and the Li and Song families? This can only prove that there is something wrong with Su Qingni. If one woman thinks Su Qingni is not good, that is the woman's problem. If two women say Su Qingni is not good, that is also their problem. But if all women think Su Qingni is not good, then Su Qingni can only be really bad. The prince pushed Su Qingni away and left Su Qingni's yard. Since then, Su Qingni has fallen out of favor. The prince rarely came to her yard. After Kuyuan and the other two concubines gave birth to children, the prince never set foot in her yard again. Both concubines gave birth to children safely. Doesn't this prove that the princess is generous and kind? Now Kuyuan's status in the prince's heart is getting higher and higher, not only because of Kuyuan's generosity, but also because Kuyuan gave birth to a son for him. His only son. Over the years, the women in the palace have become pregnant one after another. The princess is generous and kind, and the women have given birth safely. However, all the children born are daughters. The prince didn't know how to react. If the princess hadn't given him a son, he would have been laughed to death by his brothers. The prince was handling official business when suddenly a servant from the palace came to report, "Your Highness, concubine Yu is about to give birth." The prince waved his hand casually, "Just give birth. Why are you looking for me? I'm not a midwife or a royal doctor." If the concubine gave birth to a son, he would definitely put down his official duties and return to the palace to wait for the birth of the child. But the palace doctor had already diagnosed that concubine Yu was pregnant with a girl. He already had 9 daughters, and concubine Yu gave birth to the 10th. Now, he would be teased by his brothers for many days. The servant left. He already knew the prince's reaction, and running errands was just a formality. In the prince's palace, Kuyuan sat outside the delivery room, drinking tea leisurely. The other women had different expressions, but most of them were gloating and sympathizing with each other. They were puzzled. Why did they give birth to daughters all these years? Why was it that only the princess gave birth to a son? Not all of them suspected that the princess had drugged them, and they all secretly sought treatment from doctors. Of course, they could not be cured, and the doctors also said that there were drugs that could make people give birth to children and drugs that could make people sterile, but there was absolutely no drug that could make people give birth to only daughters. If there really was such a drug that could control people to only give birth to daughters, wouldn't the number of women in this world far exceed the number of men? In fact, the prince had once had the same suspicion as them, and asked someone to ask the director of the imperial hospital, who gave the same answer as the doctors. The prince and the women in the backyard then dispelled their suspicion of Kuyuan, and only thought that they were really unlucky and could only give birth to daughters. The prince had a knot in his heart about these women in the backyard, and he wanted to change a group of women and let other women give him sons. Unfortunately, the prince is not the emperor yet, and he can't send all the women in the backyard away. He can only hold it in and rarely go to the backyard. Only when he can't bear it anymore will he go to the backyard to find women to vent. But the one he looks for the most is Princess Kuyuan. After all, the princess gave him a son. There was a scream in the room, followed by the sound of a baby crying. A middle-aged nanny came out of the delivery room and reported to Kuyuan, "The concubine gave birth to a daughter." Kuyuan smiled gently, "Okay, reward." The other women also smiled. Li was the first to stand up and said, "I'm tired after waiting for so long. I'll go back and rest first." The other women also stood up. Kuyuan naturally would not stay and returned to her own courtyard leisurely. As soon as she entered the courtyard, a meatball rushed over. "Mother." Kuyuan happily caught a meatball, hugged the meatball, and walked back to the room. However, as a pampered princess, she was delicate and weak, and the little ball was chubby and quite heavy. But after a few steps, She couldn't hold it anymore. King Shu took the meatball with a tactful look. The meatball liked King Shu very much and nestled in King Shu's arms obediently. Yu-wen said with a smile, Ruier likes you so much, even I, as your mother, am jealous. King Shu said with a smile, what are you saying, princess? The little prince likes you the most. If you don't believe me, just ask the little prince. Rao Chuanzi said very politely, I like my mother the most. Everyone laughed even more happily, and Yu-wen was in a better mood. Another little princess was born today, let's make some delicious food to celebrate. Zhu Yao suggested with a smile. Yu-wen and King Shu both knew what Zhu Yao meant by celebration, and both smiled and said yes. Yu-wen couldn't help but sigh, King Shu, this method is really good, it's so effective. Those women will never give birth to a son in their entire lives. Chapter 775, Maid's Turn. After the prince returned to the palace, he only went to see concubine Yu, and then came to Yu-wen's main courtyard without being bothered. The prince held his only son and felt that everything was good. He was very close to Rao Chuanzi. Yu-wen asked someone to set up the food. The prince held his son and sat at the table. Seeing the rich food, he asked, why is it so rich today? Yu-wen smiled gently, today, the palace has a new baby, so we have to celebrate. The prince's mouth twitched, and he snorted, it's another daughter, what's there to celebrate? Yu-wen picked up a dish that the prince liked with chopsticks and put it in his bowl, saying, then just enjoy it. Father, meat. Rao Chuanzi pointed at the chicken leg and called to the prince. The prince smiled and put the chicken leg in front of Rao Chuanzi, who happily held the chicken leg with both hands and started to eat it. Because he doted on his only son, the prince was very indulgent to his son and did not use rules to restrain his son. Yu-wen watched this scene with a smile, and inevitably had a little expectation in her heart, it would be great if there were only the 3 of them in the palace. However, thinking of the woman in the backyard and the 10 daughters, Yu-wen immediately gave up her expectations and her heart became cold and hard. Yu-wen stretched out her chopsticks and picked up a little fish meat. This fish has no small thorns except for the big bones, so there is no need to pick out the thorns, and the fish meat can be fed into the mouth. As soon as the fish meat entered her mouth, Yu-wen felt nauseous, and hurriedly spit out the fish meat and began to dry heave. The meatball was frightened, tears fell, and kept shouting mother, mother. The prince was also startled and shouted loudly, call the palace doctor quickly. Immediately, a servant quickly went to find someone. Seeing Yu-wen's reaction, King Shu already understood what was going on. She walked to Yu-wen's side and supported Yu-wen, touched Yu-wen's pulse with her fingers, and got a definite answer. The court doctor came a short while later and gave Yu-wen and the prince a surprise news. Yu-wen was pregnant again. The prince was happy and scared, afraid that Yu-wen would give birth to a daughter this time, but when he saw the meatball sitting next to him, the prince was relieved. The princess is different. She has given birth to a son, so she should give birth to another one, right? Yu-wen touched her belly, her heart was filled with joy. She has another child. Whether the child is a boy or a girl, she will love her and treat her well. She is not worried that she will give birth to a daughter. Anyway, she already has a son, so it doesn't matter if she gives birth to a daughter. But she still turned her eyes to King Shu for confirmation. King Shu shook her head. Yu-wen was only pregnant for a month, so how could she tell the gender of the baby? But Yu-wen rarely eats acidic foods, so she thinks the chance of having a daughter is relatively small. Sure enough, at 4 months, King Shu diagnosed the gender of the baby. Both were boys. Yu-wen smiled even brighter after hearing this. Who would dislike having few children? In this world, there is no royal taboo against twins, but the possibility of twins ascending to the throne is lower than that of others. The palace doctor also diagnosed the sex of the fetus and told the prince, who immediately held a banquet to celebrate. He was happier than Yu-wen. He wanted everyone to know. He was not a professional who only gave birth to daughters, he could also give birth to sons. He was about to have 2 sons. He had 3 sons, although it was still less than his daughters, but the number would increase in the future. The prince decided, in the future, he would no longer touch other women in the backyard, only the princess, and let the princess give him sons. When he ascended to the throne in the future, he would reselect some women who looked like they could give birth to sons to serve him. If Yu-wen knew what the prince was thinking, she would laugh, a meaningful laugh. The other women in the backyard knew that Yu-wen was pregnant with 2 sons, and they were all jealous to death. But they could only vent their anger in their own rooms and had no way to deal with Kei Yuan. There was no way, because Kei Yuan was so skilled, and they had no way to cause Kei Yuan to miscarry. Moreover, the prince attaches great importance to Kei Yuan's belly. If they dare to do something to her, the prince will not forgive them. Kei Jingmi followed Mrs. Kei to visit Kei Yuan. 3 years later, Kei Jingmi grew from a boy to a young man, and he was even more outstanding and handsome. Just as the saying goes, the man on the road is like jade, and the gentleman is unparalleled in the world. It is said that Kei Jingmi is now the head of the 4 young masters in the capital, and the dream lover of many ladies from big families. Even the princess clamors to marry Kei Jingmi. However, the princess is only 5 years old now and cannot get married. King Shu looked at Kei Jingmi with even more admiration in her eyes. She thought that if she wanted to get married in the future, she must find a husband as good-looking as Kei Jingmi. However, she would not get married. Not to mention that Kei Yuan now values and relies on her very much and will not let her leave easily. Of course, she has the ability to leave if she wants to. However, there is affection between King Shu and Kei Yuan. She was reluctant to leave Kei Yuan, and Kei Yuan really needed her help now. When the maid left the palace, she would be in her 20s. What good man could she marry? She didn't want to marry a widower. And she wanted to travel around the world. The fairy sister often whispered in her ear about the fun of traveling around the world. In fact, Su Qingni wanted to find the extremely yin place everywhere, so she tried her best to encourage King Shu. Who told Su Qingni to be in King Shu now? Alice. She couldn't control her body, it was painful. She could go to the desert to see the yellow sand all over the sky, and experience the desert smoke is straight, the long river is setting and the sun is round. She could go to the seaside to see the magnificent and boundless ocean, and experience the bright moon rises on the sea, and the world is at this time. She could go to Mount Tai to feel, I will climb to the top and see all the small mountains. She could go to the south of the Yangtze River to see the river flowers are redder than fire at sunrise, and the river water is green as blue in spring. She could go to the north to see the mountains dance with silver snakes, the plains run with wax elephants, and they want to compete with the sky. Yes. King Shu was full of longing and could not help but be absent-minded. Kei Jingmi noticed King Shu's absent-mindedness and a slight smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. He felt that his sister's maid was very interesting, much more interesting than the maids who were crazy about him. According to his sister, this girl also has good medical skills in calligraphy. She is really the best among the maids. Kei Jingmi sighed in his heart. He had a good impression of King Shu, but it was just admiration, without any love between men and women. Because he was pursued and liked by girls since he was a child, Kei Jingmi was not willing to easily try love between men and women, nor was he willing to be easily moved. The 5th young master is getting more and more handsome. Zhu Yao sighed to King Shu with his face in his hands. Madame Kei and Kei Jingmi had left, and Kei Yuan had also rested. Zhu Yao and King Shu had time to chat. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.